Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
Morning. I was not quite sure if you could hear me.
Good morning.
I'm seeing some faces from last time. All right, we're clearly still getting set up, so I'm going to use the bathroom.
I'm super curious. Is anybody driving right now? I just came in to say hello. How is everybody, by the way? Good morning, everyone.
Good
I'm on my way
morning.
to Liberty Mutual.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Excellent.
Morning.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I feel like we had somebody on the schedule, but maybe we stand by. Standing by.
Surprise, it was you.
Interesting enough.
Yep.
I just looked over at the Facebook and it goes from unit 9 to unit 11.
Same.
Yeah. So let me clarify for you there. Well, yeah, interesting. I don't know why it says that.
Today's 10, by the way.
Yeah. So, what do we got? Yeah, today is session 10. Technically, actually, it's session 1 of part 2, if that makes any sense.
Oh, okay.
Erin, hi, kid. I think you and I just jumped into a room to assist, but I think we might actually be serving. So trying to gain some clarity around that. I had looked this morning to see who was on the schedule. Bear with us, guys. We apologize. We'll get the plane in the air
Good
soon.
morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, let me look at the
Morning.
my handy dandy schedule here.
Yeah, I could not agree more.
Baby noises.
I second. I triple that emotion.
They can host today.
Morning, Haley.
All right, I'm just gonna look to see what I have.
Great.
Sorry,
Oh.
guys.
That's all right. If you guys end up driving the train, we have great teachers today.
Oh, who's sweet talking us? Who's
Right.
that?
That's because I keep promising cake. That's why they like us, Aaron. Yeah.
I know. Well,
it's gonna be great. It's gonna
if
be
I
great.
didn't love my TL, I'd have to think about defecting to Portland.
Portsmouth.
Right, Kendra?
Portsmouth.
Right?
How dare you?
We're in New
Portsmouth.
Hampshire. But you're.
I always joke because you'll notice that Matt Erdman's Market Center in Connecticut always refers to themselves as Greater Hartford, and then Portland, Maine refers to themselves as Greater Portland, and we're just Portsmouth. And then most people think we're in Virginia. So my ego, watch out, it's pulling in. So my ego got all worked up. I'm like, we need to be Greater Portsmouth now. So I'm fighting for that. I think that email is rotting in Gary's inbox, but I still want to be Greater Portsmouth.
Yeah,
We don't
I
need to
think
be great,
that's
Tim.
Central.
So we do have 2 coaches signed up for today.
And I
do you-
think we should probably bring up the. Do you want to bring up the slide deck and start to roll, and I'll double check with them to see what's going on?
All right. Do you see?
I
who
see
they
the
are?
names. Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool. Okay, guys. Let's get. So I am not a host, Tim. I can't do anything.
Uh-oh.
Sick.
We are rolling with rocket fuel this morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Happy Friday.
So I was, if none of you know, I was a teacher for 17 years. And this is like, someone would come in to observe me with my class. And this is always the stuff that would happen, right? Like completely disaster area, because of course, like that's what happens, right? Like the day that nothing works is when you're not planned for it. So
It was a
Okay.
while. Yeah, you had house improvements you were going to be working on.
oh, I think that's Johanna. If I recognize that voice. All right. So you know what? In the meantime, let's take this time while we're figuring things out. If you guys want to mute yourselves, if everyone could just mute, and that because I don't have the power to mute you at the moment. I do not have the power. And then what I'll ask you to do is if you could take a minute and talk about the 10-4. You've had 2 weeks of doing the 10-4. You should have seen previewed 10 homes, 20 homes at this point, right? Or have a plan to get a couple more. Have you written your handwritten notes? Have you been adding people to your database? Let's just take a minute to reflect on how that's going. What limiting beliefs might be in your way around some of those activities? What are you having success with? And we can share out. If you want to go in the chat, you can. Probably not all unmute at the same time and start talking. But we can try to have a conversation. There's 93 of us right now, and I don't have the power to mute people. So,
Jennifer Kim, can you mute your phone?
Carrie, I think it's Johanna that has all the background noise.
It's both of them.
Someone's on the tee, it sounds like.
they can't hear us because they're unmuted. There's so much noise going on.
Is Tim the host?
So, no, I don't think he is.
So Erin, what was your question again? What did you want us to share?
So if you could think about the daily 10-4 that we've been talking about, we're 2 weeks into Ignite today. So you should have at least seen or video previewed probably 20 properties to this point, right? You've entered contacts, you've made calls, and you've written some handwritten notes. So I just wanted to take a minute. We can reflect on that.
Bobby's coming in hot. We're going to get the keys. Stand
Okay.
by, everybody. It's going to be great.
So is anybody doing well with that? Is anybody struggling with that? How's it going?
Well, I myself, with the parts of the 10-4, I'm doing pretty well with. I think I shared yesterday that I kind of decided to reach out to my actual neighborhood and send them kind of a handwritten note that I'm in real estate. I got these cute little cards that say, you know, I just joined Keller Williams. I put my cards in there and just said I wanted to personally reach out to my neighbors. And then I added them into my database, and actually reading the Millionaire Real Estate book there, or How to Be a Millionaire Real Estate book.
Yeah.
It had which I thought was very interesting, the MET database versus the not MET database.
Yep.
So in my database, I kind of made tags for MET and not MET.
Yep.
And started doing that. So I'll put the ones that I've never met on that 12-step plan. And then the ones I met, I'm hoping to put on an 8x8 just with that first initial thing. The thing I'm struggling with right now, I just got over having COVID, by the way.
Oh,
yeah.
glad you're okay.
So what I'm struggling with is the house viewing. So even when I go into MLS and I look and I have a hot sheet and all that set up, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be looking at, really. I know that sounds silly, but
nope. Yeah, so that's actually a valid question. And it's a funny one because we say, oh, go see 10 houses. And certainly when we've made that recommendation, COVID was not in existence. So depending on where you're at right now, you may not physically be able to just go tour homes easily. So using video tour options is a great thing. So that's a really valid question. I think in that, I'm going to just, I have the power to mute. Oh, I'm coming to mute you people. So I'm going to mute everyone and then unmute myself. Hang tight. You can. Okay.
I wish you could have just stopped my video a second ago when I was standing there putting on my shoes in front of you, Erin, as I realized everybody's looking at my leg. Oh, that's nice.
Sorry about that. Okay. All right, so I feel a little bit bad. Debbie, you can unmute yourself if you want to. But so to take on that whole previewing 10 homes, if you guys want to just raise your hands, has that been challenging for a lot of people figuring out how to get around that? Yeah. Okay. So I'm seeing some hands. Yeah. So there's a couple different ways to attack this. You could do open houses. So you could really look at the schedule and say, I'm going to go to 4 open houses on a Saturday or a Friday or things like that. You can also, if you're not going into homes, really think about your area and maybe to learn your market and a style of home or a price point, you could specifically choose that, right? So like, I'm going to look at, you know, the houses in Wilmington, or I'm going to look at the houses in Barrington, and I'm going to look at everything that's on the market in a certain price range. And I'm going to kind of get a feel for what's similar about those homes. And so you can start to say, oh, okay, so at this price point, the houses have a newer kitchen, and they don't have a garage, or they do have a garage, or they have waterfront, or what makes this house different than the last one that was very similar. And the inventory will start to make a little more sense in your mind if you have a plan. If there are open houses going on in your community, you certainly can, you know, let the realtor know. Identify yourself as a realtor when you go in, and yeah, there should be a spot in your MLS. I have a question in the chat about open houses. I think you might have to, I don't know every state's MLS, so I can't speak to that piece. I know in ours in New Hampshire, I can actually look for open houses.
I don't know them either, but I'm happy to speak to them. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know how it works. So in other MLSs, because I'm only licensed in New Hampshire, so I don't know. But yeah, you should be able to search by open houses this weekend. You might have to do it by county or by town, but you should be able to
You can search in Maine as well. It'll
Yeah,
give you a
so
whole list of them.
Yeah, so you can.
And
set
in Massachusetts, you can search in Massachusetts. It's
Yeah.
right up on the MLS. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
So
in
yeah,
Rhode Island, so I think we got it covered.
yeah. So you should be able to just search for open houses, and then I would plan to go in and see a few, and then start to make notes in your head. Like, you're studying and you're researching, you're learning how does pricing work. Introduce yourself to the hosting realtor. Hi, I'm Erin McLaughlin with Keller Williams. I'm just previewing the property today. I'm going through some open houses, and say thank you to them at the end, and thank you so much and have a great day, right? Like, it doesn't need to be more than that. You know, don't make it uncomfortable. All
Thank
right.
you.
That's a great question though. Okay, so where are we?
I have a question.
Erin, yeah, I was
Yes.
just gonna say, can so what I've been doing is, because I'm not real comfortable going with to everybody's open house.
Yeah.
I get probably 6 to 8 listings from other realtors a day that come directly into my email. I get a lot from Berkshire Hathaway, and some of them might be from other parts of the state, but what I do, I open them. And especially if they're my area, but even if they're within like a decent radius, I've been opening those, like looking through them, like making notes, and just, looking at the pictures and then notating anything that I think might be either worth
Absolutely.
going further to look at, or that I might, have someone that might be interested in. But that's how I've been doing it. So does that count? I was just going to ask
Yeah,
you guys.
of course.
Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And those are probably generated by your board of realtors. So if you're not on the mailing list, if you're not getting emails like that, it might be because you opted out with your board of realtors to get those. You can also put yourself on a search, right? So you can set up a search within your MLS, like a listing cart, like you would for a client. You could set one up for yourself. You could even do it in our Keller Williams app and send yourself properties to look at. So that's absolutely the main goal of this is for you to become knowledgeable about the market. And given that it's COVID times, you may not be able to physically go into a lot of homes. So absolutely looking at listings, paying attention to the marketing, what's working in the marketing, what's not, right? Because that's all going to help you in your business. So yeah, absolutely. That counts.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
About that. I've been doing that, going to open houses on the weekend. In fact, I did some Facebook Lives at them, which was really fun. and I'm going to do a Facebook Live today. So if anybody on here is already friends with me, please jump on that and get some people. But my question is, so I've been going to houses that are sort of in my price range wheelhouse for my clients, but I really would love to go. There are a couple multi-million-dollar open houses coming up this weekend in like a couple towns over. How do agents in that price range react to that? You know, like, I feel like
So
it's more.
again, hi, I'm Erin McLaughlin with Keller Williams. I'm previewing the property.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for the open house. It's a beautiful property.
Okay.
Have a great day.
So, but at that price range, they're not more expectant that if you're there, you're going to have somebody in that range ready?
Not at an open house, no.
Okay. Okay.
And because here's the thing, if you're lead generating, as we all should be, right? On the regular everywhere, you could have a client later today or tomorrow, and that is the property for them.
Right. And that's
So-
actually my goal, is to generate those clients out of doing that. But
Yeah.
okay, I just didn't, I was a little afraid to go there. I'm fine going to, you know, like under $1 million, but over, it just seems like I'm crossing a line a little bit.
It's literally your job to understand the
Okay.
market.
Okay. All right.
So it doesn't matter what price point. It's literally your job to understand the market, and also to understand what's the difference between, you know, $1 million property and a $900,000 property or an $800,000
Taxes.
property.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, taxes, location,
yes.
what, you know, what other features are included. The best way to learn the inventory is to be in it.
Okay. All right, guys, stay tuned. I'm going to a mansion near you this weekend.
Yeah.
Love that.
Also, I'm finding in Massachusetts, a lot of the agents since COVID hit are putting up virtual tours,
Yeah.
whether it's via Matterport or, you know, a video. I know I video all of my properties right now. So you can usually find those in MLS when you click on a listing in the upper right-hand corner. And that makes it easier to see properties that are really restrictive on access.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. Okay. So, are we ready to?
Yeah, I was on the
get
struggle
going?
bus trying to get the right, like I'm looking at Facebook Live and I'm watching what's on my desktop and I'm like, I was in MySpace for 20 minutes. I don't know what happened, but here we are.
What that
We're here
file
now.
was
Yeah.
you were sharing.
Yeah. So just so you guys are on board, and we will grab the workbook. If you guys go to KW Connect, and I'm not going to touch my screen right now, but if you go to KW Connect and go to
I'll put it
resources,
in.
if you can drop the packet in, Erin, that
Yep.
would be great.
Yep.
And the script books as well. So
Yep.
we are in the second half of this class now. We broke it out. There's 18 sessions total, and we're now into elementals. We're out of Spark and we're into elementals. This is session 1. This is prospecting. This is everything. This is the lifeblood of your business. I know we talk about picking up the phone. There's a lot of different ways to prospect. And as Gary would tell us, we need to be prospecting based, marketing enhanced, right? Where we were before, we used to be physically based, virtually enhanced. And now we flipped that on its head in the last year because of our inability to be in people's faces because of COVID. So now we want to make sure that we're really working on our prospecting and talk about the difference between prospecting and marketing and why one is foundational and the other one is additional. So we're going to click through, bear with us, and we apologize for the delay and the clunkiness. And here we are. We're going to move pretty expeditiously today because we want to get you out to, you know, your appointments and the rest of your life by 11:59. We'll hang out to answer questions. Maybe we can achieve all of that in this span of time. And we're going to plan to take a break at 10:30, if that's okay with people, and then get back to it for 10:40 ish or whatever. So first things first, talking about growing a business and running a business. Why is this slide always first, Tim? Because we can't remind you enough the importance of the two and the differentiation between the two things. Growing a business is about lead generation for buyers and sellers. I would even flip that. Erin and I are pretty biased. We always want to make sure that we're looking for listings. The listings will generate buyer conversations. And not that the buyer might not have something to sell, but it's really about you guys controlling the conversation and controlling the market. Having market, market share is about having the inventory. The commodity in real estate is the listing. It's the property to sell. So we're generating leads for sellers and buyers. We're making seller and seller listing presentations and getting listings. Notice how that's number 2. And then the buyer presentations and getting listings is number 3. But it keeps talking about seller presentations, buyer presentations, but it's always about getting the listings, right? And then previewing real estate, as we were just talking about. Don't be afraid to go and do a house with 2 decimal points in it, right? The taxes are different. Your commission is bigger, and Uncle Gary will be happy for you. You'll enjoy, yes, because there's going to be frenetic energy as you're getting started anyway. I would rather freak out during my $1 million transaction than freak out during my $15 transaction, right? So that being said, with love. Running your business. What does this look like? This is on the other half of the day, right? When we talk about winning the morning after lunch, this is when we start to market to sellers. We're showing houses. We're out on appointments. We're negotiating contracts, transaction management, whether you're doing that for yourself, if you've got that baked into your team, if that's an asset that's being offered to you by your market center, or you've hired somebody privately, somebody's doing that for you. Vendor management. Are you building those conversations and those relationships with Allied Resources? Are you staying in touch with those folks? Do you have all the people, all the arrows in your quiver to make sure you can move your people through a transaction? Setting goals. And this is important to remember as we're getting started, right? At the close of business every day, we have to make sure that we are still the visionary for ourselves. Are we still setting goals and building goals for ourselves on a regular basis? Compliance and risk management, attend training and getting coaching, and of course, managing your money. Super important. And we always talk about profitability, profit first. We get rated as a market center on our profitability. Anyone can make a ton of money. Are you profitable? When the books get closed, did you actually retain some money? Because you can make a ton of money and spend a bunch of money. So it's about creating those financial efficiencies to be more profitable as your business grows. So first things first, connect prospecting to lead generation. So show of hands, unmute if you'd like. If you've got background noise, I invite you to stay muted, and we love you. So with that being said, prospecting to lead generation. What is prospecting and what is marketing? What's the difference between the two?
Prospecting's maybe more targeted to a targeted audience, more specific.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else?
No
wrong answers.
Prospecting. Go ahead, whoever that is.
Are you sure, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought prospecting had more to do with like the people in our inner sphere and like prospecting like with them directly, whereas marketing is trying to hit up like a large, maybe like demographic area or whatnot. And it's multiple people that we're trying to get as a contact eventually, or in our database.
Okay. What about you, Maddie? What do you think?
Yeah, so prospecting is a two-way street, and marketing is a one-way street.
Sure.
So yeah, prospecting is that conversations that you have about real estate. You're talking to someone. There's interaction both ways, coming from both directions. And marketing is you're putting your face on a billboard. You're on a grocery cart in the market basket. It's for the masses to see you. And that's a long-term goal, where prospecting is a short-term. Marketing is a long-term play, and prospecting is a short-term play.
Yep.
Oh,
Just to really chunk it down, prospecting is active and marketing is passive. Right?
Yeah, that's what I was looking to say.
Prospecting is active, marketing is passive. They can both have a call to action. Matty Howard could have his beautiful face on a massive billboard on the side of 95. And at the bottom of it, it could say, for more information, to find out where you stand in the current marketplace, call me. Yet he's not leaning off the billboard to find out where my head's at, to find out where me and my loved ones stand right now with our property, if we need to move. You're not having, to Matt's point, you're not having that interactive conversation to gain more intel. I'm throwing this out there, and as Gary would say, with the differentiation between what most CRMs do and what Command is endeavoring to do, is we want to have that one-to-one conversation, because you can really drill down with your conversations within Command when you're doing smart plans and campaigns to individuals. It's one-to-one as opposed to one-to-many. Most people go to a website and they go to John Q. Citizen Real Estate and they're hunting and pecking for what they're looking for. Where if you think about the Netflix conversation, once you've started to build your relationship and your reputation with Netflix, they now know, well, these are the shows he likes, and here's a new show that has the behaviors and the tenets of the other shows he likes. So the probability that he'll like this show, we should throw this in his queue or put it right in front of his face. So if we can have that conversation when we're prospecting and ask more direct questions of people that we know and love and trust, we're going to move the ball faster. down the field, and we're going to get to more transactions closed. If you're working with unmets, if you're looking to capture unmets and you're looking to market to build your pool of conversations, you can have a call to action. Stands to reason, though, you're not going to have the ability to interact with these people. And there's, I'm not anti-marketing. It's going to feel like that by the end of the day. I'm not anti-marketing. I just think you've already paid for your phone, and your face is currently working, I think. And that's always going to be our best way to interact with our people. And you allow your people who are working with you to market for you. Their word of mouth is going to be more powerful than the billboard. I've never had, and I'm sure somewhere in Keller Williams' universe, somebody is absolutely printing money with their billboards, and it's their one thing. I don't really believe it. It's their one thing. I'd love to read that book. It's probably 2 pages. But anyway, I think when you hear people on stage with Gary talking about their success, it's about follow-up, it's about human interaction, and it's about the connectivity of the people that we know and love and trust in our immediate sphere, to what Michelle was saying earlier. So here's your sales funnel. It took us 29 minutes to get to a sales funnel. Doesn't this feel like a sales presentation now? So prospecting and marketing, we have both of these leading into captured leads. And what does Gary define as a lead and a contact? We've talked about this quite a bit. I just want to make sure we have clarity around this. What's a lead? What's a contact? Go ahead, Maddie.
A lead is someone that you haven't had a conversation with. A contact is someone that you've made that you've had that conversation, that real estate conversation with.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the lead is the at bat. Maddie puts me in touch with Michelle, and I know that I can call her, and that's a lead. That's an opportunity. I get to stand in the batter's box. The contact is I've made contact with Michelle. I've earned the right to stay in contact with her. And whether it's another nurture conversation or we've had a conversation about something she's looking for with real estate, where I've now got the ability to follow up and follow through with her from a business standpoint. But the lead is somebody who's saying, hey, you should call Michelle. And the contact is I have to call Michelle back because we had a conversation and she doesn't hate me yet. Right. So I'm going to just keep the conversation going, and we're going to keep her in my life. And then my job now is to continue to make her feel heard and cared for and find out who she knows that I should know, so I can keep using my best people to find out who their best people are. We get down into where they're getting cultivated now, because our leads we're tracking. We're offering them value. Our contacts, we're connecting and continue to offer value. And at that point, we get them into cultivative stage. Every 3 to 5 to 7 years, and the number keeps moving. So let's just use the average of 5. There's life events. People get married, people get divorced, people pass away, people finish with school. They're upsizing or downsizing. We like to use the word right sizing to make people feel better about it. There's a lot of different life events that take place and why people would be moving. The national average is about 5 to 7 years right now. So what's the probability that you're going to make that phone call to that person on the day before they move, which would be too late anyway? But how often do you call somebody? If you're a veteran agent in class today, I'd love to hear from you. When's the last time you called somebody and like, oh my God, we just talked about it yesterday and we want you to come over so we can sign the paperwork tomorrow? I'll wait. I'll pick on Johanna Knight from my market center because I know she's been doing this for more than 20 minutes. There she is. There she is. Hey, kiddo. She's like, oh, Lindsay, you pain in the ass.
It does happen. I sold a house to people, it was like 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you know me, Tim, and that phone.
You love the phone. You want to borrow mine? I've got an extra here if you want it. There you go. Okay. Got it. Yep. And
I was, starting to make my calls,
mm-hmm.
and I called them. They were a great couple. And first words out of his mouth was, oh my God, we have your calendar. We see you every morning when we open the fridge. Yes, we've outgrown this house. Let's go. And we got together, listed the house, sold it. And unfortunately, they had found, they were doing a private sale. So it wasn't both sides, but.
Yep. So let me ask you this question though, leading up to that transaction and leading up to that conversation, how many times had you spoken with them prior to that?
Like I said, they had my calendar on their refrigerator.
Mm-hmm.
Because
they're calling now. Yeah.
Really, that was my communication, which is not good.
Okay, that's all right. Anybody else have an opportunity that fell in their lap? I would expect it would be quiet. More often than not, it's because we're staying engaged with them. We talk about this all the time. The chart that you'll see Jason Abrams, our director of industry, reference all the time is that the two hills and the X's on the hill, and it's the ebb and flow in between the day that person buys a home and the next time they're going to buy a home. Are you going to hit them at the 3.5 year mark where they're at the bottom of the hill and they're starting to climb back into the industry again? Are you going to be fortunate enough to catch them right before they buy? And that's just a rare occasion, even if you're close with them. We have a lot of people that have really close friends, and you find out after the fact that they just bought or sold. The analogy I always use is you walk into the backyard barbecue when we can all see each other again. And you walk into the backyard and they're like, "Oh, Johanna, oh my God." And I'm at the advanced age now. They're like, "Oh my God, we thought you died. And we actually bought and sold with somebody else because we forgot you were in real estate because you haven't told us since 1933 when you first got your license. You called us once because your coach forced you to, right?" Or are we constantly staying in contact, inviting them to events? Because that's where we get in our heads. Like, well, I have a client party, but I only invite the people I've sold to. And not to make you spend a ton of money, but if you're renting out an ice rink for a skating party over the winter to thank your clients, invite everyone you know. The probability that everyone's going to show up is slim and none. Most people will. And for no other reason than the fact that they got the invite and they feel cared for being invited. Maybe they can't make it, but don't just invite the people you've sold to, invite everyone so they can see who you're selling to, so they can see who you're engaged with, and they can see the effect you're having on your neighborhood. So once we get through Cultivate and then we're moving it through, this is the lifeblood of our business, is setting the appointment. Can I sit with them and have that conversation? The Ben Kinney script, when people say, "Yeah, we're not really sure," that's exactly why we should get together. "Yeah, our cat just died." That's exactly why we should get together. "I've got a headache." That's exactly why we should get together. "I don't like your face." That's exactly why we should get together. We're always driving to sit down with them to find out what's holding them back, to work through the circumstances. And really, as we flipped it in the last year because of COVID, we used to always hear everybody referring to ready, willing, and able. And it's really the ability comes first. Now it's able, ready, and willing, right? Are they able to transact? Because that's the one thing that's really in flux right now. The most volatile thing in our country right now is employment, right? So where employment's changing so much for people, you notice if you've been in the industry in the last year, and if you're just coming into the industry in the last year, what we've noticed is they're doing verification of employment at the final seconds of the transaction. They're waiting as your lender is clearing the deck. It's the last thing they're doing to make sure people are still employed, because they were running that verification maybe earlier, and then people are getting furloughed and let go. And you're sitting at the closing table like, don't ask, because you're sitting there with no employment. But when they checked 2 weeks ago, you were gainfully employed. So that's the kind of stuff that we're working with on a regular basis. So we want to get to the appointment, and we obviously want to move them through the conversation, help them fill out the paperwork, do all of the negotiations, the activities, get them under contract, and then get to closing. And then once we get to closing, this is what invariably happens. Anybody in the class today ever sold a house to somebody, and then you drive by later in 5 years and somebody else's sign is in the front yard? It's happened to somebody, I can tell you that much. If people don't want to share that delicious story, yes, there it is. Dr. McLaughlin, tell us all about it.
Well, I represented them on the buy side, and then got a text message from someone on my team. "Hey, what the heck? They listed with someone else."
Was it Mounsey? I feel like she probably wouldn't say heck. Yeah. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah, there were some other words in there. And it was actually less than a year after we had sold the house. We had worked with them on the buy side. To be honest, he was not my favorite client. So I did not maintain my level of communication at the level that I should have. And I didn't put in the things, right? Like all the things that we talk about, staying in touch with people. But sadly, that was a $500,000 property that I could have been part of the sale of twice in 1 year. So, but I didn't, and yeah, we learned with that one, like, even if we find them persnickety and difficult, we need to figure out a follow-up plan for everybody. And so we developed our own follow-up plans and used the things in, at that point, it wasn't command, but
you get a double word score for persnickety, by the way, too. I love that word.
Persnickety. Yeah. Well, because like that's the thing, right? Like the people who are kind of difficult, sometimes we're like, oh, we don't want to stay in touch with them. But what was it about the deal that was difficult? And could you, you know what I mean? So someone asked how soon after you close a deal with a client, do you reach out and follow up? Honestly, right away. And you stay in touch with them. You know, like as realtors, we have to keep a level head and not let the personal stuff make us shy away from continuing to build our business, right? So that was a hard lesson to learn when I was like, oh, that was because I was being unprofessional, right? Like I didn't want to maintain the relationship to the level that I should have. So yeah, we learned pretty quickly on that one.
To the person
I
that
have
asked
the-
about follow-up, go ahead. Go ahead, Kelly.
I had the same thing happen. Not as much as I sold them something, but I just went to the chiropractor for the first time kind of since COVID because I was afraid. I didn't want to go. So I just went, and when I went into
You
the
look
office-
taller, by the way. Good for you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I had gone into the office, and one of the girls that's there, I had worked with her previously, and I said, "Oh, hey, how is so and so, a mutual friend?" And she was just like, "Oh, well, did you not hear?" And I was like, "No, I didn't." I said, "The last time I talked to her was this time last year." I said, "And they were looking for a house." Now, I had done a CMA for them. I had done, all of the start work. And really, I can blame it on COVID, but I totally dropped the ball because they bought a house. They bought a house, and then they broke up and sold that same house in the same year. And I had nothing to do with anything because I just was like COVID, and I totally just didn't do what I should have done because I should have been in that the whole time. I should have still stayed in touch with everybody. I should have made sure that I was at least following up with the leads that I had already started, but I figured, oh, I'll give them a break. I need a break and I shouldn't have done that because I lost 2 sales in the same year.
Yeah, because it's our job to stay in touch, right?
Yeah.
It's our job to remind them that we're in real estate and we're here to help them. And yeah, it's like you learn that lesson a couple times, maybe once, and then you will be better about it, right? So hopefully if you haven't had that happen to you and you're in this class right now, you've learned from us. You don't have to do that. So just stay in touch with people and you won't have to see someone else's sign in front of a house that you sold.
Vilmer's got
That's
her
like
hand
the
up.
biggest the biggest thing that makes you sad as you get established is when you drop the ball like that. You just want to cry.
Yeah.
Vilmer, go ahead.
Knife in the gut when you see that other person's sign on that property, and that's when that knife just turns in your stomach.
Yeah. And the best thing too, right, is to like claim your ownership over whatever it was as professionals that we should have had in place that we didn't, so that you can prevent it in the future. And, I think if we say, oh, well, it was very easy for me to be like, oh, he was a pain in the butt. Like, we're better off without it. But was my team really better off without that deal? No, yeah. So.
Vilmer, you need to unmute
Oh yeah. You're.
or wave your hands around. I'll pretend to understand. Either way, it's up to you. Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning.
Morning.
Okay. What would be your advice in case when everything went off fine with the buyer or the seller, but no matter what you do, they don't like to. They're not the type of people that likes to keep in touch with anyone. It doesn't matter how many calls I make or text or do things. They don't want to be bothered. How you really keep in touch with a person like that? Can you give us some ideas?
If they're purely transactional, they may not be looking for that care call or, hey, it's been 6 months. How's everything? If it was purely transactional for them, you need to respect that. And I would also remind yourself that any time, and this is going to sound callous, and here it comes, anytime you're wasting chasing somebody who doesn't respect your time and doesn't want to engage with you outside of the transaction, you're missing an opportunity to serve somebody else. So I would, as you see fit, reach out to them. be, you know, if you can clarify in which medium they want to be communicated with, I would do that. But I would make sure they're getting some sort of touch from you on a consistent basis. So you can, you know, occasionally call or, you know, when you run into them, whatever the case may be. Hey, I'm hoping that you're getting, you know, the monthly newsletter or whatever the case may be. But I wouldn't consternate over it to the point where I'm losing my focus on all the other people I should be helping. Right.
Yeah, there's also a great story from, is it Steve? I can't think of the last name. Schleiner. You know who I'm talking about, Tim. But Bold
Schleter.
Yep. That's right.
Oh, the Barbara phone call.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think about that now when I hear kind of questions like that or comments like that. Like, so what's a way that you can continue to stay top of mind or in their mind without, you know, wasting your time on other things is smart plans, right? So he had talked about basically this woman he met at a Bold, I think. He taught Bold in her city, maybe. And she just kept sending him emails.
Yes.
She put him on a drip campaign. And he ultimately ended up moving to that city. And when he hired an agent, he actually hired her.
Yep.
And he had received something like, I don't know, 50 unopened emails from her over the course of a couple of years or something. And but because she just was present, right?
Mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was top of mind.
Correct.
So so I think that's a great story. And that didn't, I mean, we all know how easy it is to create a smart plan to keep somebody on a drip campaign like that. And maybe throw in a quarterly call or a handwritten note or something like that. It's not taking huge amounts of time away from you with other things, right? So,
Yep. Well, and as Steve said when she called and he
Yeah.
answered because he was driving and he doesn't recognize the number, she calls. She's like, "Hey, Steve, it's Barbara from like North Carolina, North Kakalaka, wherever she was
Yeah,
from." And
yeah.
he's like, "Hey, Barbara," because he's a Bold coach. He talks to trillions of people.
Right.
And she's like, "I just called to wish you a happy birthday." Now, whether she was completely just shooting in the dark or purposefully, and this is actually brilliant, and it might be something you want to do.
Right.
Like if she was calling on October 1st, he was like, "I appreciate that, Barbara. My birthday is not until the 10th." And she's like, "I wanted to be first, Steve." Like, that's funny. It's unforgettable. And at the same time, it obviously worked because he loved it enough that when he got there, he's like, "I'm calling her because she's a maniac," which I love. Like, I wanted to be first, Steve. She's competitive. She's ahead of the curve. She was thinking of me. And even if you're just like, "I wanted to say happy birthday," it's not until March. I wanted to be first. That's never going to be wrong, right?
Like
I'm the first person this year to wish you happy
first
birthday.
one.
Yep, first one. First one's here. First one's here.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I
love
hope that
that
helps, Vilma.
Yeah.
So now we want to get into these two categories here. There's message and method. Now, with your message, are you matching the market? Are you communicating with the neighborhood that you want to, if you're looking to geographically or demographically farm an area, right? Who's your target audience? What are you looking to grow? So from a demographic standpoint, am I looking to attack engineers who are male and female, 35 to 42, because I know that this tech company just moved to Stratham, New Hampshire, and they're going to be coming from the North Shore of Massachusetts. And is that really what I'm focused on? Because a developer and a builder I know are building out all of these neighborhoods. Or are you attacking the same kind of people who might have moved in 10 years ago, and I know those neighborhoods are about to turn, and I want to start to share market conditions with them? Do you realize you could net X right now? Or we have buyers who are looking for a home like yours right now. So sending out that information to spark interest. Above and beyond that, are you making a direct offer? Is there an offer of value that you're making, whether direct or indirect? So the direct offer would be inviting them to that first-time home seller seminar. And yes, Erin and I will always tell you to do a first-time home seller seminar, and there's a reason behind that. Or am I making the indirect offer of, would you like, and please stop using free CMA, would you like an evaluation of where you currently stand in the marketplace? Everybody's got that floating box on their computer when I go to your webpage and it says, "Do you want a free CMA?" And when you tell the universe that you're free in the first 22 seconds of your relationship, how do you expect the rest of it to go? It's going to feel really free. They're going to question every penny. They're going to question all the money that comes up along the way. So stop using the word free, start using the word professional. Would you like a professional CMA of where you currently stand in the marketplace?
So
Not
Tim,
the
I'm
free
gonna
CMA.
challenge
Stop
you.
using CMA because people hear CMA and they're like, what does that even mean? It's another acronym that confuses the humans. They don't know it
Jen
means
just put
competitive.
that in the chat.
Well, yeah, stop using acronyms, right? Would you like a professional valuation? And a great line if you're calling around, even with your Mets, if you're calling around and you're like, hey, Tim, sorry I didn't catch you. I was hoping to speak with you and Janina. I was looking at real estate in Stratford, spent some time on your street, and I was wondering if you guys were interested in where you currently stand in the market. Even if they have one home and you talk to them about their current real estate holdings, they suddenly feel like PJ Pennypacker and they're like, I would love to talk about my real estate holdings.
Yeah, there's someone put, how about complimentary? So I think the thing is that the conversation, the people can find out a ballpark value of their home from all different kinds of things, right? And they do. So if they want a more specific professional opinion of the value of their home right now in this current market, that's what you're offering, right? Is a professional conversation. Do you want to see where you stand in the current market? Have you been wondering? That's what's enticing. It's not about it being free because right? Or complimentary, or
It's about it being
like,
valuable.
It's about being valuable. You're
Yeah.
offering them something that they actually can't get from the computer, right? Because they use huge algorithms that aren't always so specific to that specific neighborhood or that, whatever finishes you have in your home or
Well, think about the playbook that Tiffany offered to us last week. That is from the great Mark Richard, is just that conversation about the real estate checkup.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to meet with your general practitioner, your dentist, your orthodontist, your chiropractor. Have you met with the real estate doctor? Right. And have you had that checkup on your home? Are there things that you want to attend to? Are the things you're attending to prepare it for sale? Or would you just like to know where you stand in the market? Vilma has her hand up. Go ahead. You need to unmute.
In actuality, it's not free because we are paying for it. If we start thinking the dues, that is included in everything. So it's not free. We're giving up free.
Well, it's the value of our time, right?
Yeah, and everything. So
I think if we change the language of what we have,
yeah,
how we explain that to people, it's going to grab their attention. Just being different alone.
Yeah,
it's a service, right? Like
a service. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
But we shouldn't use the free word. I do like that idea, not to use it. Thank you.
Well, again, everything that Erin and I say, we're not telling you how to run your business. We're offering best practices. So if you're happy to use free, I'm happy for you to use free. We're recommending we maybe change the way we look at things and the way we explain things to the civilians so they feel intrigued to ask the next question. What is a home valuation? Because the free CMA is just, I don't know, it's overused.
Well, I think it's also antiquated because it's based on a time.
I resemble that remark. Go ahead, though.
Right. But it's based on a time in our business when when the general consumer didn't have access to all this information, and they certainly needed to have a realtor come out and give them that information. And there were realtors who charged for it, right? So to me, it's an antiquated thing. And really what I want to say is I'm going to bring you value. I'm going to talk to you about where you currently stand in this market. If you're thinking about adding on to your home, if you're thinking of, right, like those are the things that would it make more sense to finish your basement for $20,000 or to go buy a bigger home?
Right. Well, Erin, Janina and I looked in Stratford, and our $300,000 house, according to Zestimates, is worth $795. So we're very excited.
Nice work.
We can't wait to get started. Can't wait to get started. So then we get down to what the method looks like. And this is prospecting and marketing. And we talked about prospecting is active, marketing is passive. They're both useful. We want to be prospecting based, marketing enhanced. Our big rocks are prospecting. Our big rocks are having one-to-one interactions with our people and growing those conversations to find out who they know that we should know. The marketing is the background music, the other things we're doing to capture the unmets invariably. It's very rare that if one of our people that we know and love and trust is going to be transactional and we're already one of the three, if not the name in their head that they'll call when they pull the trigger on buying, selling, or investing, that they're going to pass my billboard and be like, oh yeah, I got to call Tim. Thank God that billboard's at the traffic circle. That is for the unmet. And that might even just spark interest. And you might just be teeing it up for somebody else. because they pass my billboard that says, you know, the market's really hot, blah, blah, blah. And they're still going to call Bovie because Bovie's their person, right? So again, we're not telling you how to spend your money, but marketing, be really smart. Make sure you're getting return on investment, because doing that billboard, they can tell you, well, this many cars passed that billboard. Cool. The last billboard that was up, you know, what was their history of success? We want to have track. And this is why the marketing that we're doing through Facebook ads, with algorithms, with trackable metrics that we can look back and say, this got this many opens, this many views, this many pass-throughs, these many people asked for the next step in the process, as opposed to, and we love to make fun of the Laker up in Winnipesaukee. I ran an ad in the Laker. You know, it's a free newspaper that sits at barbershops that nobody's going to, that 7 guys picked up, that 9 guys threw out, and nobody got to the back page where your ad ran. So just be careful about where you're spending your marketing dollars and hold that money accountable. The prospecting, I joke with you guys all the time. You're invariably probably already paying for a phone. You're going to lie to your CPA in April, which is 90 days away, by the way, April 15th. And you're going to tell them that this is a business expense. So let's make it one, right? And let's start to use this, because this is always going to be your first line of defense when it comes to building your business, having actual conversations with people. So we got a time block for both of these. And we talked about this yesterday. You know, if you are growing your business and you're just landed at Keller Williams or just landed in real estate, stands to reason that your lead gen time could last all day because you haven't booked any appointments for your face in the afternoon. At the same time, you could take some of that afternoon time that may be filled with appointments in the near future and spend some marketing time getting, you know, working on Facebook ads, you know, working on your business cards, picking out your sign. Once those are done, those are pretty plug and play, and they're going to run themselves, and we can get back to more prospecting. And then, you know, being prepared, getting that buyers and sellers presentation prepared, taking action, booking the appointment, and then maintaining our activities throughout. So questions on that between prospecting and marketing, clarity in and around that. Does anybody need any help with that?
Tim, do you guys, do you consider farming marketing? Or do you just not even use the term? Or I'm just...
Well, if I'm farming insofar as I'm doing EDDM, every door direct mail through the post office, that is, I'm sending something out, may have a call to action on it. I'm not part of the interaction. So to me, that would be considered marketing. If I'm farming that same neighborhood in my KEDS, knocking on the door, right? In my beekeeper suit because of COVID, a lot of people aren't door knocking right now. If I'm having that one-to-one interaction, I'm farming that neighborhood, but I'm doing it through actual physical prospecting. I'm having conversations, the same one I would have on a phone. I'm just now standing in front of them, right?
Okay, so like if you direct market to the same street, to the same, to the same neighborhood.
You should have more kids, Kelly. It's just a suggestion. Go ahead.
Yeah. The biggest child knows better than to beat the ass while I'm on Zoom. Anyway.
I can see him. He's got like 2 pots. He's like, I'm going to do it one more time just to see if she's really going to. Yep.
You do.
It'll be a great weekend at the Goss household. Go ahead.
If you're farming directly to the same neighborhood, and then I'm like following up, and like I've done some where I've even picked up, like I found phone numbers or then directly, even if I'm not going to them in person, but if I'm directly contacting those people back regularly, would you consider that?
So the direct contact or the call is prospecting, right? Where the mailer is marketing.
Okay.
So that's when we're talking about like being prospecting based and marketing enhanced. So you kind of want to do it's like a magic recipe, right? You want to figure out all the different things that work. So you're meeting new people and bringing them in. And that's what that marketing does, right? It gives you the opportunity to prospect to them, right? So now you can have that voice to voice or face to face conversation. But if you were just sending mailers out on their own, then that's just marketing. It's not prospecting.
Yeah, and that I feel like that, I don't think, and I've done that probably for 2 years, where you call it farm the same areas. You're sending those direct mails, but I've never gotten anything back from that.
So I think Tim can tell you the return on that, but I think for direct mail, any of those, we'll just call it the gestation period is very long on that. I feel like it's like a year and a half or something, right? Yeah.
I mean, historically, it's been 15 months to get noticed, 18 months to get teeth, right? So if you're doing both, and
Yeah.
like some of our, certainly at our little market center up here, some of our best agents just decided to go real small, right? And Gary will say this too, right? Aim small, miss small. If you go real small and you decide, hey, I've got this much money to start, geographically farming some streets, because you can pick your areas, but when you go do every door direct mail with the post office, they're basically going to give you some routes. So there might be a street you want over here and a street you want over here, and they might be part of separate routes, but you can spend the money on the routes that you want. When you're getting EDDM stuff, it usually says current resident. That's what that is. It will not have the name. So if you want to hyper personalize it, you might not want to go that route, pun intended. That being said, if you decide to do that, you're creating your collateral and you're dropping it off at the post office and they're sending it out for you. Then if I'm following up on those same routes with the physical door knock, and I'm also going through white pages and getting the phone numbers, so I can say, hey, I dropped off, I sent out my newsletter. I was hoping that you got it, and I wanted to just follow up with you and introduce myself personally. I'm not door knocking right now because of the current state of affairs. I just wanted to make sure that you connected a voice to the face that was on the postcard, whatever the case may be. I think if you attack in that regard with both prospecting and marketing in a hyper specific area, you're going to move the ball down the field faster for sure.
Yeah.
I think people that just create the newsletter, and we have an agent at our market center that we love to brag about, Chris Carr. He's probably in his 12th year. He actually now lives on a farm in Connecticut. So he's remotely doing real estate and has people up here who are taking referrals for him. When he was up here, the neighborhood that he attacked started with 150 newsletters. He's got to be now over 11,000, and they just keep dropping them and the best part of his newsletter is patience is the first ingredient. The second ingredient is patience. And the third ingredient is every 29 and a half days, he drops the newsletter. Consistency is always the most important thing.
And he's doing business, right? So I think that's the other piece.
Yep.
So he's having conversations with people and they're seeing his signs. So it's not just one thing. It's all
The
of
mailer
these
keeps
things.
showing up.
Right.
That's
And
on the
like,
kitchen
oh,
table, the
well,
signs in the
that's
yard down the
guy's
street.
sign that
Yep.
that's the guy I get the newsletter from,
Sure.
oh, he sold my neighbor's house or whatever, right? And email works as part of that. That's from the chat, right? So
Yep.
that's what we want to do. It's a combination of things. If you have an open house in a neighborhood like that you're farming, you're going to want to go and door knock in that neighborhood, invite everybody to the open house, right? Like that kind of stuff. That becomes, it just builds the relationship faster than if you're just sending mailers.
Yep. Gary's
Yeah,
got it broken out here. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm
Go
Joyce.
ahead.
Boston.
Hey, Joyce. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. I have a question. Maybe I missed it, but how do you find the phone numbers for the people in your neighborhood?
White Pages is a great resource. And I know some of these, in order to get maybe some more robust information, you might have to subscribe to a certain level. Back in the golden age, when I was using White Pages at a pretty high level, you could just get the information. Of course, the world has changed. So there's a handful of different ways that you can do that. But I would say White Pages for me was the one that we used probably the most.
Joyce, I did the last Ignite in September, and one of the coaches gave this website called peoplesearch.com. And I used that, and it was a little scary. I'm not going to lie, because the stuff that it brings up about you, I was like, wow, there's a lot of information out there, but you can the name, and it lists everything. If you're in there, we found out that we think my one sister actually doesn't belong to us because she was listed nowhere, but the rest of us were. And then I found it.
I have that sister too. Yeah.
But it did give my neighbors. So it said my neighbors and my husband's neighbors, like people on the streets that we lived. And then it even gave some of their phone numbers. So I even felt like a little bit creepy using it because I really felt like I was stalking people. But at the same time, it was helpful. And I was able to get some of my neighbors' names. I've lived on my street for over 6 years, and I didn't know who they were. So now I have their information, and now I've started to reach out to them more regularly.
Yeah.
Did you have to pay for that, Kelly?
You're welcome.
Did you have to pay for that, Kelly?
No, it's free. It's just peoplesearch.com, and there's areas in it where they will ask you to pay for things, but on some people, it will give you quite a bit of information without having to pay for anything.
Yeah, there's a
Okay.
few different
Thank you.
sources depending on.
Jessica's got her hand up too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
ahead, Jessica.
I was just gonna say I've had there's a website called smartbackgroundchecks.com, and what you're talking about with all those things on there, they tell relatives, acquaintances. I have seen them have the layout of people's houses on there.
Yikes.
Like it's kind of crazy.
Super.
But be careful, because I don't know if anybody saw in the chat. Supposedly my boyfriend's dead because him and his father have the same name and they switched the birthdays around. And he's also still married and related to his ex-wife's lover. You have to be
Sounds
careful.
like a country
So
song.
that's where you really need to ask, are all the decision makers going to be available
Yeah,
tomorrow at
right.
4? Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a few different things. Even sometimes you can get it. I know, like there's some different applets even within our Paragon in New Hampshire where you can get some of that information. HomeSnap will have phone numbers in it. You can also sometimes they'll even identify people who are on the do not call list. So yeah, there's a few different ways to get information. So
Donna's got her hand up as well.
Oh,
Donna, go ahead.
thank you, Tim.
Good morning.
So you keep mentioning newsletter.
Mm.
Okay, so what would a typical newsletter be?
I'm so glad you asked, because Erin and I love to brag about Chris Cars. And if you were in the room, I would still make fun of it. It was black and white. It wasn't shiny. The front said, here's what happened in town. And the back said, here's what my team did in town. It was literally, here's the properties that have sold. And the other side, here are the properties that we sold on a monthly basis.
Okay, but
Super simple, two-sided. You see some people do more of a book. We've got a great agent here in Portsmouth, Justin Kelcourse, that does, I think they're doing it every other month, and it's more of a booklet. There'll be an article dropped by his lead buyer specialist. They have quizzes in there with giveaways and stuff, and it's more of a magazine. There are some magazines you can explore too, but I think never mind. Don't worry about 15 pages. Don't worry about glossy. Don't worry about color. Worry about consistent content, valuable content that's getting delivered in a mailbox. And it's something that's not a bill, so people will appreciate it. And even if they throw it away for the first 6 months, Donna's face showing up every 29 and a half days is what's really going to hold it. To Erin's point too, because then you got the Chris Carr newsletter. And then after that, you drive it around, you're seeing his signs everywhere. So he's in my mailbox, and he clearly is also the mayor of town when it comes to real estate. So when people become transactional, they're going to call Chris Carr, you know?
Okay, so as a follow-up to that, Tim, the front is here's what's going on in town, and the back is how many homes I've sold, which
Yep.
are absolutely zero at this point in time.
Yep. So you could highlight maybe some of the coolest houses that sold in the area, and then you could lean into your market center.
Okay.
Right. So as an agent that's just getting started, if I don't have any story to tell, I'm going to use the metrics of my market center. Or if you're on a team, I'm going to steal the story of my team. And when I start to build my story, I can tell my story inside my team story, inside my market center story.
Got it. Okay.
So I would, if I was trying to attack you, I know you're in Metro down there with McCarthy, right, in Boston. So if I'm in Brookline, I'm going to talk about some really cool stuff that sold in Brookline. Then I'm going to talk about what my team, my market center did in Brookline.
Got it.
Right. And if you got enough of a story to tell, you could just talk about what your market center did in Brookline. You don't even really need to talk about, but if something really big popped, if Bob Kraft sold his 15th house, I might want to talk about that. It's probably a pretty nice house in Brookline, right?
Tom
You
Brady
know?
did, though.
I know. We're aware he moved. Yes, we're well aware.
No,
Sunday at 4:30, we'll all be reminded yet again he's not here. Yes.
No, he just sold his house, so.
Oh, the
So-
Brookline one. Okay. Okay.
I just want to, there's a lot of conversation going on in the chat. I do want to come back to the phone number thing and just make sure that we're all clear that you do still need to check the do not call registry.
Yes.
You know, if you are finding phone numbers for your neighbors and people that you do not know,
Yes.
you can, you know, certainly don't have permission necessarily to contact them. You need to check the do not call list. We are putting together, the coaches, some resources for you guys. So there'll be a new unit with a bunch of information about the do not call registry. So you can be on the lookout for that next week on the Facebook group. So because we are getting a lot of questions about that. So It is your
Right.
responsibility as realtors to make sure that you understand it and that you're not calling anybody on the do not call registry. So,
Can I ask a quick question about that?
sure.
So with respect to door knocking and how it relates to do not call, does
So
that?
it's not, I don't believe it's the same. If they have a no solicitation
Yeah,
sign
that's different.
posted on their property, then that's different. And there are people who do have those. So you do want to look for that, right? Specifically, I think too, condo associations, apartment buildings often have rules
soliciting,
around
yeah.
that. So, before you pop into an apartment building handing out flyers for a first time home buyer seminar that you're offering, I would make sure that you're allowed
Well-
to do that. So
Well, let me ask you as a follow-up to that, right? So if you're calling someone and you're soliciting them, calling on the phone and soliciting them and they're on the do not call, that's very bad, right? If you're going in and you're like back in the day when I was in corporate sales and we would go into an office building and it said, do not, no soliciting, we treated that as a welcome sign. So my question is, what would be the downside of, sort of ignoring that and kind of asking for forgiveness rather than permission, specifically related to door knocking? Again, not calling, but door knocking.
So I do think that there are fines and there are things depending on your state and where you are for soliciting. So that would be something that I would check with your TL or your broker and just to make sure, because I do think as real estate professionals, we're held to a different standard around solicitation, right? So, and I would also say, our reputation is not one where we're building relationships, right? So we're not forcing people into relationship with us, right? So I think you wouldn't want to gain that reputation. So always thinking about the reach of your reputation and the company that you're a part of and all of these things. How are you representing yourself? And I do think for solicitation, depending on your state and even your office, there may be within your brokerage things around that. Could somebody press charges against you if you were soliciting at their home and they have it posted, right? So
That would definitely ruin your weekend.
yeah. So it may not be worth it. So, but there are
yeah, I'm
other
not gonna
ways.
lie, Maddie, though. I remember being near one of our listings where we were doing an open house and we hit an apartment thing. And I'm being truthful. I did not see the no soliciting sign, but when I did get it from it was Barbara smoking her Pall Mall. And she's like, I'll tell you, Tommy will be upset if he finds out you were here. You're not supposed to be soliciting. And I was like, actually, I'm conducting a survey. I apologize. I mean, I just, and got out of there. So, because I really had a list of questions for them to gain intel. And that was the way in which I was getting people to talk to me. And then if you'd like the results of my survey, I'd be happy to send them to Matt Riley at leavemealone.com. And I could take your phone number, and we're going to be there Saturday from 11 to 1. So were we soliciting? Sure. Was I ready to sort of pivot on a dime if I got yelled at, which I did? We did. Yeah, we just got to be, and honestly, it's very rare. And this is not like a solid truth. It's very rare that we see people getting fined because they got on the phone with Matt Riley. It's when Matt Riley's on the do not call list and he's getting the robocall.
Right.
So you'll find time and time again when you're hearing these stories, and when we got in, our company as a whole, KW, had an incident in the last year, and that's why Gary's been so fervent about reminding us about the big, huge $42,000 and change dollar fine that he's not writing the check for. It's when the robocall comes through, and there's not interaction. Because if you get me on the phone and I'm like, yeah, Matt, I appreciate that. I'd appreciate, I'm on the do not call list. I know you're going to exit with grace and be like, yeah, I apologize, Mr. Lindsay. I'll update my notes. Have a great weekend. It's when the robocall is just getting drilled in is when people lose their mind. And if you're making a proper and appropriate and legal robocall, that's almost an oxymoron.
I know. I was
it would say Timothy Lindsay, Keller Williams, Coastal Lakes and Mountains. And now you have the intel to get back to my broker and file a suit, right? I was in radio. Like, we didn't really get in trouble unless somebody called the FCC and said, he said X on the air, right? So somebody's got to climb that ladder. It's a $43,000 ladder. So I'm not making light of it. I am saying we're seeing more people get hit with a violation because they're hammering away with robocalls and they're never doing the homework. They're just hitting the play button and it's calling, as opposed to Matt Riley. Let me check on do not call.gov.
Yeah.
Do not call
Well,
this.
it's the
Cool.
auto
Scratch them out.
divers.
Right. But at that point, I could still send you a mailer. At that point, I could still knock on your door. Not to be an antagonist. You asked me not to call. Like, this guy's on planet Earth. I'm sure he's interacting with other humans. I just have to find out the medium in which he wants to be interacted with. Right.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Can I ask a little clarification here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is Rhonda.
Hey,
So,
Rhonda.
and it really is about farming an area and about prospecting in a neighborhood. And
Sure.
these, and we know there's statistics, I went and checked it, 75% of people are on the do not call today. And tomorrow it might be 80%.
After this conversation, yeah, they're all, you guys are signing up.
I'm on there. No.
So most people are, and yet there are people like myself, because I didn't know all about this, was making calls to expired from a few years ago.
Yeah.
I was successful and I like doing it. But now I'm here sitting here frozen by this 44,000 thing that I'm afraid to pick up the phone and call people on a DNC.
So, well, there's a couple things to consider, right? Like, and Tim can jump in on this. If somebody has their house listed for sale, or it I guess expired, maybe it's different. I would start maybe with a mailer or something, right? But if you're for sale by owner, you're asking for people to reach out to you to, right? Like you've changed it. If you've put in a lead through Facebook or something, you've opted out of that, right? Because you've said, I want more information, please realtor contact me. So it's that permission piece that is maybe not in play. And if you have, of course, you are going to have friends and family who are on the do not call list.
Yeah,
are you in
point.
relationship?
Such a great point.
Yeah. Are you in relationship with them? Do you have permission to call them?
I want to ask the questions.
Right? So you do have permission to call them because they're your friends and family. If they ask you to not solicit them for real estate, then you probably just don't do it again, right? Like, but I mean, they're your friends.
I don't think you're understanding my question. It's actually the group of people I want to go after. It's the farming. It's the people I don't know in a neighborhood that are on the DNC.
So then you're going to have to do it through mailers and door knocking.
Physical door knocking. Yep.
I put those two together because the idea is because what I took away from our conversation is how to get the two. And I'm here sitting like, how do I go get that second? Combine of the door knocking and the mailers, and I'll have that higher statistic.
Yeah, and if they answer the door and they're like, yeah, Rhonda, I would love to talk to you about this. No, they're no longer on the do not call list. You have permission to call them.
Yeah. And where we used to say you'd knock on the door and take a couple of steps back, I would recommend knocking on the door as long as you're nimble enough. And I would step all the way off the porch. Just to add that, make sure you're 6 feet 1 inch, and you know what, Mr. Lindsay, I hope you got my mailer in the last couple of weeks. And out of respect to your wishes, I didn't want to call because I see that you're registered on the do not call list. I did want to introduce myself and talk to you about the opportunity of selling your home. We have some buyers who are desperate to move into the neighborhood.
Super. This was super, super helpful. Thank you.
Excellent. Paige has her paw up and then Jessica has her paw up. Go ahead.
My question was related to social media. I don't know how different the rules are there, but on my page, I did like a little giveaway where I gave away a Chromecast and a gift card if people like tagged people in my post.
Yep.
So a bunch of my friends like tagged 3 people, and there's some people I don't know on there. So what is the, the rule of thumb with like sliding into a stranger's DMs, essentially?
Wow.
I don't
I, as a male in 2021, am going to go to the ladies' room and take a 10-minute break. Erin, you're on.
I don't think there's any current legislation that I'm aware of around that, like the do not call list. There is not any sort of like social media restrictions around contacting people through social media, which is why people have leaned into it so hard, right?
The moment you signed up, you did the big opt-in.
You opted in to the network itself, right? So, the other thing is that because within social media, you have the right to choose to engage in the conversation or delete it, even if you sent me a message, right? Like through Messenger, through Instagram, right? Like anything, I can choose to not respond and block you. So I have the power to do that. It's built into the structure of social media. So as far as I know, there's nothing that would put you at a $40,000 fine situation in there, which is why people are using it so heavily, especially direct marketers.
Yep. I mean, give the universe like 20 more minutes. I'm sure they're probably listening right now and they're working on the law.
Well, I think it's built in, right? Because you're
No, for sure.
it's part of your user agreement. We all have participated in if you're using social media, you have all agreed to terms.
Right.
We all have a user agreement. So yeah.
Okay. All right. In the DMs I go. Thank you.
Yeah. Have fun.
All right. So
Tell Aunt Lori we said hi.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Well,
so I had a couple of things. One, to piggyback on what Paige is saying. So I have tons of experience on social media, and I'll tell you, the one thing you do have to be careful about, specifically with Facebook DMs, if you copy paste and contact a lot of people all at once, they will flag it as potential spam.
It's 100. You can message 100 people at a whack before Facebook says, "Erin, you're done for today."
I was going to say, I feel like Erin's had this conversation with Zuckerberg. I'm very intrigued.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I built my business with social media very quickly. So
yeah. So like my only thing is like sometimes change it up a little bit and sometimes type it out instead of the copy paste, because they have some way of knowing that you've copied and pasted. It's annoying.
LinkedIn, it's about 60.
Yeah.
You message about 60, and then you get a little message from LinkedIn that says, "I think you're a robot." And I'm like, "Nope, I'm just really good."
Yeah. And then I had a question about the do not call thing. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to answer this, but I was just curious about it. So, I mean, the do not call list came out a long time ago, and I feel really strongly like there's probably a ton of irrelevant do not call records. And I don't know, do those expire? Because people get different numbers and they move, and like, I'm just wondering how accurate that is, because I'm sure I'm on a do not call list. I thought it was a great idea back in 1998 and put myself on there. And now am I on there? Like, I have no idea.
Well, so I'm going to use the feel, felt, found script. I understand how you feel, Jessica. We've had a lot of agents that have felt the same way. And what they found after they got a $44,000 fine was that number was still, no, I'm joking. Yeah. So let's walk it all the way back to the Bronze Age. I'm going to try to remember the phone number at my parents' house when I was growing up. 508-256-4605. I'm sure Richard Edwin Lindsay couldn't wait to get on the do not call list because my father hated people, right? So that number, which my mom doesn't even use anymore, is probably on the do not call list. So Cheryl is sitting at Bentley Lane right now, and she's waiting for somebody to not call that number they don't even use. Does she probably think it's tied to the 1330 number she now has and her cell phone 9767? Probably. So that's when we're in real interaction on the phone and somebody says, "I was on the do not call list of 1943. I love that, Margaret, and I apologize. Have a great weekend," right? If that's their opening salvo, it's probably not going to go well after that, right? In the grand scheme of things, are you in violation if they aren't actually on the list, but they believe they are? I also probably don't want to have that arm wrestling match either, you know?
Oh, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying, does anyone know if there's an expiration or if you have to resubmit?
Oh, the window. I'm sorry.
I think that you opt in once and you are on the do not call list, but I don't think it follows you if you get a new phone number. So, so like you don't have to reapply, refill out to be on the do not call list, I don't believe.
You do. I think you do. I think it's every 5 years, Erin.
Okay, so maybe it's every 5 years.
Yeah, because that's what I was wondering. I was like, it doesn't sound, I mean, because then everybody would be getting fined all over the place.
But we can look into that. I'm putting together some resources for you guys. So for all things do not call. And so, but I don't know, but I'm like, it can't be that frequent because I don't think people would do it actually. Like there's, you know what I mean? Like one more thing to remember to do.
If you want to test it, it's 603-219-8372. That's Erin's number.
I'll answer.
Give it to everyone you don't like and tell her.
I
tell
will
them-
answer.
tell them to
What
give
do
her a call.
you need?
Yep. We got Donna's got her hand up. Chris has his hand up. I think
Oh, we got the do not call list is firing people up. Let's go.
it is, and we also want to get through the materials and get everybody off to a bio break.
Yeah,
and
which is why we're
hopefully
gonna do.
We want to break for lunch by 7:30 tonight. That's our goal. So we're gonna press on. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I go or is it?
Go ahead, Donna. Go ahead, and then Chris, please.
Okay, so I don't mean to beat do not call to death, but the $44,000 fine is something I can't afford right now. So my question is, so basically when you're making phone calls, I'm picturing myself at 8:30 in the morning making phone calls. Do I have to have like the do not call list open on my computer and check every number before I make a phone call?
I would recommend if I'm calling expireds or unmets.
Yeah.
If I'm calling a Mets, now again, opt in. If it's a Zillow lead or a lead coming from an online aggregator, they just gave me Tim at leavemealone.com 603-834. So they gave me the intel to reach out to them. If I'm calling the expired, the unmet that's not expecting me, I've got to look that up. And the next layer of that conversation as Keller Williams agents is that it's your listing, your lead, and market centers practice that straight through the expired too. So talk to your local leadership about how that conversation looks. For our agents at 463, if I'm doing expired phone calls and I confirm that they're not on the do not call list and I can make the call, I also am going to find out whether they are a Keller Williams Coastal Lakes and Mountains property or not. And I owe that agent a phone call first before I call the unmet, right?
Oh, God, yeah, that goes
Yeah.
without saying.
So if Gary were here, Donna, he would say, call the people you know and love and trust, then you don't have to worry about the do not call list.
No, that's who I'm concentrating on. so-
Amen. Yes. Go ahead. So Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, just real quick. So I sold my, I had a home in Arizona I used to live in, and I sold it back in June. And before I sold it, I was getting like 3 texts a week and 2 calls a week about, I'm an investor in the area and blah, blah, blah.
And you never got back to me, Chris.
Listen, I'm still getting them, and I sold it in June. And I checked, I'm on the do not call list. So question 1 is, can I get any piece of that $4,400 or whatever it is dollar fine? And question 2, how do I stop this? I'm getting to the point where I'm being sarcastic with people, which is not my commitment in life. But I'm like, listen, why don't you check your information, pal? Because I sold it months ago.
Well, I guess if we're talking about your handheld phone, your cell phone that's with you all the time, I would ultimately, for your own sanity, I'd probably just block the number.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
Just
But
block it.
It's always a different number. I block all the numbers. It's a different number.
Oh, they're using like a bot generator. Yeah, at that point, I would contact do not call.gov and be like, hey, I've got somebody who's just out of control, and obviously file a complaint. And no, no, the government.gov, what portion of that sounds like they're splitting the funds with you? I'll wait.
Right.
They're not sharing any of that money. Trust me.
I feel like.
No, go ahead.
No, I don't know that there's like, are there reparations to the person who's been getting called?
I don't know.
I've
No, I
never
don't know.
heard that, but I really don't know the answer.
Yeah. Yep.
I got some money back.
Kim, can I just throw something in?
Yeah. Ken, go ahead.
I posted a link in the chat, and it's for a company used to be called infousa.com. If you use that URL, you'll get to the correct place. It's now called dataaxleusa.com. And this is one of the biggest aggregators of residential, property and, people data.
Yeah.
So it's like 25 to 50 cents per file or per record. You get a name, phone number, property addresses, and you can search by like so many different parameters.
Yeah. Awesome.
And when you get to the bottom of the form, you can actually select to get records that are not on the do not call list. So they've already filtered them for you.
Very cool. Infousa.com, and you put it in the chat?
I did, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ken. Awesome. So we're going to get into the list now. Here's what prospecting looks like, and then we'll get to the next list over here, which is what marketing looks like. We're going to back up real quick. Stand by. Da-da. There it is. So prospecting, phone or face-to-face. What does this look like? We're talking about listings without agency. So that would be FSBOs, for sale by owners. It also stands for frequently seen but overlooked, right? Because your FSBO on your street is typically some guy that bought a sign. I always say guy because it's usually a guy. Women are smart, they hire pros. Men, we all think we're brilliant, so we try to do it by ourselves. FSBO, for sale by owner or expireds. Now, what's important about these two categories, they both have a problem on their hands, and our conversation with them is that they have a problem and we need to help them. We want to do it with grace and ask a lot of questions and find out what they need from us. Typically, the FSBO is somebody who has exhausted their energy and their trust in the real estate industry, and they're going it alone. The expired is exhausted their energy and their trust with a certain agent, and they're looking for a new person to work with. Circle prospecting. You can do this via neighborhoods, apartment complex, recently sold or recently listed properties. So circle prospecting is, I have 123 Main Street currently listed. I want to talk to everybody else in the neighborhood and have a conversation with them about whether they want to list, or I'm inviting them to the open house, and other conversations like that. Community outreach, which is obviously a big part of what we're doing right now, because we're doing a lot of care calls. We're finding out how we can serve our neighborhoods, whether you're doing it through charity or volunteer work, even if it's been something you've been doing for a long time because it's near and dear to your heart. This is where Jason Abrams would ask the question, what are you currently near that you're not in, right? If you go to church, but you never go downstairs for the pancake breakfast because you don't like pancakes, could your real estate team supply all the food that they need to make the pancakes? It's little things like that, just to stay connected to the people that you're already engaged with, because really the benefit for you there is these people already know you. You already have the commonality of your faith, of a sporting interest, or some sort of a hobby. And then when they find out, because they don't know, because you never took time to have the conversation, that you're also in real estate, there's already some trust that's already baked in there. And to lean into those conversations and assist the people that you know and love and trust the most. Key relationships, making sure that, do you have a friend who is the human resources director at a major company? Now, first limiting belief is, well, yeah, I know a few different people over at Liberty Mutual, and I'm sure they already have a relationship. And I remember when I was in production, they did have a relationship with another major real estate company that would do all of their national and international relocations. It doesn't mean they're not looking for another conversation. Do you have a friend who is a lawyer? And do they have a friend who also practices law, who does family law? I trust that if you went into the office of a lawyer who deals with a lot of divorces, there's probably more than one business card on his or her desk that pertains to real estate. What you're looking for is the at-bat. Hey, I know you work with a lot of different agents. I know you're also dealing with a lot of families who are going through breakups and looking for new real estate. I'd love an opportunity to serve your next client and have an opportunity to show you how I can serve them at a high level. And just ask for the at-bat. Banks, and I go right here. Obviously, when we see banks, we're thinking about lenders as well. Do you have a great relationship with a lender? And I would argue you probably need great relationships with more than one, because the difference between most lenders is the products they can provide, right? We hear our buyers all the time saying, oh, I'm going to shop around. Well, Mr. Lindsay, your credit is your credit. The number's probably not going to change, but the lender is going to be able to offer different products, different financial products for you to utilize. So make sure we're building those. Third-party data companies, investors. Do you have an investor that you're working with? What do we know about investors? If you've worked with an investor or you haven't yet worked with an investor, it's very rare that they are going to be working with one agent at a time. They're usually the people that say to you, bring me a great deal. You got anything awesome? I want to hear about it. But they're very rarely signed with one person unless they've been doing it for years and years and years. Investors are fun to work with because they are worried about the numbers making sense. Do the numbers make sense? There's usually very little emotion tied to the real estate exchange because they're just looking for something to go in, fix it up, cash flow it, move on. And they've probably got a portfolio of these kind of properties, as opposed to the conventional sale with a family. There's a lot of emotion involved. So investors, if that's something you want to lean into and it's something you want to focus on, certainly I'm sure there's somebody in your market center who might be doing that at a high level who can help you with that. Now, in that interest, a lot of investors are dealing with a lot of commercial real estate, and we do not want to celebrate residential real estate agents, right? If you are a residential real estate agent, and you don't have your commercial license, we want you to explore that with the proper conversations with your leadership at your office, or refer it out to a commercial agent within your office and find some great allies to work for you in that regard, because they're just bigger conversations. And if you're not up to snuff on what the rules are and you're playing outside the fence you belong in, you can get in trouble. And there's some financial, some checks you might end up writing that I don't think your OP wants to hear about, quite honestly. So if you're going to explore commercial, have the appropriate conversations with the people at your market center. Teaching and speaking opportunities. You know, when you get to capper status at most market centers, they're going to start to ask you to come on and teach Ignite. They're going to ask you to teach within the market center. If you're doing brick and mortar training at your market center, if you get a chance to go to an employment seminar, you know, career nights at colleges and at your kids' school, you know, just going in to talk about what you do for a living with your fifth grade daughter. An opportunity to get in front of people and make sure that they understand what you do and that you're available to help them when they become transactional is really important. They've got meals here. This is a new bullet point. I haven't seen this one since they updated the slide. I'm gonna assume at this point that they're talking about, you know, just going out with people. You know, are you booking that coffee? Are you booking that lunch? Are you doing that client party at the end of the year? You know, because you can start to ratchet that down and say, hey, listen, in the last 12 months in 2020, I had 5 clients that all brought me 6 different opportunities. And I'm going to take those 5 clients out for a nice dinner at the end of the year to thank them, because we always want to make sure that we're rewarding everyone that helps us. The other side of that coin is, more often than not, people will only celebrate when the closing happens. So, you know, we're not going to go on social media. We're not going to start to advertise like, hey, send me your friends and I'll pay you for that. That's not the conversation we're having. What I'm saying is, if Ken Tassi sends me an at-bat to talk to Nathan Dickey, I'm going to thank Ken Tassi with a quick note. Hey, thanks so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to Nate. You know, here's, and just throwing a Starbucks card or something. Here's a cup of coffee on me. Hopefully the next cup of coffee we can have together, I'll keep you updated on the progress with the Dickies. Because I have to thank Ken for the opportunity to work with the people that he knows and loves and trusts. And I can't only do it if it works out. Because what if I get to the kitchen table and I'm terrible and they don't pick me? That's not Ken's fault. What if I get to the kitchen table and they're upside down and they can't sell because they don't have the equity, they're short? Or what if I'm sitting with a buyer that he put me in touch with and their credit's broken and they get some work to do? I still have the opportunity to engage with them, and hopefully I stay engaged with them. So it's still an at-bat that Ken gave me, but just because it didn't close in the next 90 days doesn't mean that I shouldn't offer Ken a thank you and keep him engaged and make sure that every time you do something for me, I'm going to always thank you for that. Not in a quid pro quo way, but in a way in which we're making sure that people understand that we're not tone deaf and we really appreciate their help. Because if we're asking our friends, hey, do you know that I require your help to do what I do? And then they actually go through and they do it, they follow up and follow through, and then we don't thank them for that, that's tone deaf. I feel it's tone deaf. So I recommend that you guys start engaging with people in that way. Door-to-door canvassing, we're talking about door knocking. The easy out on this is over. The election is over. Nobody thinks that you're canvassing for red or blue. You're canvassing for green. So get out and knock doors and do it safely right now. Right now is not the time that a lot of people are door knocking. Everyone feels differently about this too. So we can't put stuff in mailboxes. Can you leave stuff on doorsteps? I would make sure that you understand the rules and regulations of neighborhoods, because every neighborhood is different. But if you're going to go door knock and you're going to do it in a safe way, you're going to have a mask on, you're going to step away from the door and I would recommend at this point, if it's viewable, I would step off the porch just to really know that they understand and that you're conscious of the fact that there's a lot going on. And some people might be horrified you're door knocking. So I'm not telling you to do it. I'm telling you, when you feel comfortable, when you feel like the environment is appropriate, it's a great way to make sure people understand who you are.
Hey, Tim.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
I just want to make sure I heard something correctly. We cannot put stuff in people's mailboxes. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, that's a
Has
violation.
to have a stamp on it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So no
Hey,
business
Tim.
cards.
Tim,
No,
I knew an agent who went on Amazon and bought a tithing basket with a 5-foot pole on it.
From church?
And,
Yes.
And puts his business card.
That's amazing.
Right.
That's awesome.
I looked
Yeah.
it
So
up.
Matt, for clarity, Matt, yeah, we can't put anything in the mailbox. That is for mail coming and going.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean,
Good to
unless
know.
you go through the rigmarole of getting the uniform and the truck and you really want to put stamps on your business cards. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Or you have permission. So again, it's about permission, right? So if you're on the phone with me, hey, Erin.
Yeah, I'm dropping something off. I'll leave it in the
dropping
mailbox.
something off.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I put it inside your mailbox? If you
Yeah,
have
correct.
permission, then you can absolutely do that. I often would do that with a pre-listing packet. I'd love to drop by, have my assistant drop something by. Is it okay if she puts it in the mailbox?
Right.
So you just want to have
Also,
permission.
Just to be
Thank you.
careful with that as
I have
well.
a question.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't know if I'm seeking.
Nope, go ahead.
Sorry. But what about as far as like, I recall the other day, someone said, they went on MLS and they were looking at the addresses on their street so that they could, get themselves out there. But then one of the coaches suggested a newsletter. So my thing is, if we can't mail it to them, how do we get the newsletter? How exactly?
You can mail it. You can mail anything. You can send things through the mail. You can't physically stick something in somebody's mailbox without permission.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So you can mail cards to people. You can, so that was the thing. I think actually there was a little girl in my neighborhood who put a Christmas card in everybody's mailbox on Christmas with her dad in the little like 4-wheeler thing. And my husband was like, that's actually a violation. I'm like, do not tell them that.
Violation. Leave it to Maddie to be out there yelling at a 4-year-old girl. How dare you?
So if I could just say
Go ahead, Debbie.
that I was the one that sent out the mailers and went on MLS, and I found out their names and their addresses. So I guess I didn't backstory it was because I am in Massachusetts, not in New Hampshire. Live free and die where I grew up, by the way, in New Hampshire.
It's
I used
live
to
free
every
or
summer-
die, but we will eventually die too. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to live every summer at Seabrook Beach. So yeah, it's where my heart is. My family's still up there. So, in Massachusetts, we do have very strict restrictions right now for COVID.
Okay.
So, and I just got over COVID
Yep.
quarantine. Actually, tomorrow's my last day. Yay. So I figured I would try that way by sending out just a little handwritten note. And I'm still calling my people that are in my phone. So it's kind of like a combination of both. So instead of door knocking, I kind of went that way because we have kind of more restrictions right now. And it's just in my neighborhood. So I didn't do like the whole town or anything like that. So otherwise I'd have bad writer's cramp. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's rules for a lot of this stuff, and you want to make sure that you know what the rules are so that you're not violating them. Right?
Yeah, just for clarity, like,
Yeah.
obviously, I think we're all used to talking to our market center, which even though we serve 3 states here at 463, we want to make sure that we are talking to our local leadership and abiding by the laws. Your managing broker, your TL, or your OP can always assist you with that. We got Jeff Rainey, and then we're going to go to a bio break. We're running 10 minutes late. Shocking. Welcome to my face. So, Jeff, what's your question? And then we'll go on a break.
Actually, it was just a quick comment
Yes, sir.
on dropping stuff in the mailbox, even if you have permission. I've done this recently, and the mailman came after I dropped it off and took it. So,
Okay. Yeah.
so you might want to stick it between the doors.
I posted in the chat. I looked it up because I was told the same thing by a post person at some point.
Yeah.
It's illegal and the homeowner is not allowed to give permission.
Dear Lord. Okay. Well,
It's a safety thing for the mail carrier, and also to prevent theft of mail.
so everybody's going to buy a drone. We're going to start dropping stuff down the chimney. Just make sure they don't have a fire lit. That's the new. We'll
So
figure it out.
I'm not a door knocker. I can't do it, even though I have a very outgoing personality.
Kendra,
like
I
Mr.
think you'd be
Lindsay.
great at door knocking when you start.
Oh, no,
ahead.
no,
Yeah.
I tried. I can't do it. I'm a much better in your face person when I just bump into you at the supermarket. But what I did is I ordered, you can get these clear plastic bags
Yep.
with a hole in the top.
Yep.
And you can hang those to the exterior of the mailbox. So the flag or the handle, or some people have hooks there for Christmas. And I would literally walk my neighborhood and just put out,
Yeah.
little bags with information in it. etc., and not have to go into their mailbox or knock on their door.
Yeah, I mean, and that's safe and comfortable for you. And as long as it's within the guidelines of the law, certainly as, independent, people, right? We're all independent contractors as realtors. We're responsible to know what the rules are in our area. So, look that up.
Super simple conversation with your postmaster too.
Yeah. Well,
Just
and you
going
might
in,
be
like-
in, again, like a condo association,
Yep.
even with mailboxes, you may not be allowed to do anything in that particular townhouse association or whatever. So I would definitely check into that. Yeah. And I guess your postmaster.
Sure. Hey, you guys. So we are at, in the interest of making sure that we get through the content, we're at 10:42. Why don't we plan to be back here for 10:50 and we'll get back to it. And we'll get through your questions and get you guys off and running by 12. I do want to address real quick. I think there was an old post in the KWNE Ignite
Yes.
page that said I
Yes.
was teaching at 12. So for some clarity around that, that was from September.
Yes.
And not that I don't love you, and I'm happy to teach something next week. So we can run a poll and find out, do people want me to do 6 personal perspectives next Friday, or do you want me to do? We could do the profit share conversation next Friday. But we will do that next Friday because I have places for my face to be at 12 o'clock today, so we will not be able to do that today. So I did see that I was getting commented on some post and I'm like, what did I say I was going to do? I'm like, I looked at September 20th. I'm like, oh no. So, so we will do that next Friday. If you have interest in us doing an additional class, and the Friday after that, as we close this out, we're doing a full day of some tech stuff. I do believe we're going to walk them through.
Yeah,
some
we're putting
conversations.
together a social media and Facebook ads because we will end on Thursday, I believe.
Yeah, yep.
So we'll still
In 2 weeks.
hopefully
Yep.
You have this block open on the 29th of January from 9 to, I don't know how long it's going to be yet. We'll see who all the parties are that are going to be presenting.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
Yep.
but we've had a lot of questions about how to set up your business page. We've had a lot of questions about how to utilize Facebook, and then also our Facebook ads that are available to us through commands. So we're going to do a little bit of a, no, we do not have class on Monday,
Yep.
Martin Luther King Day. And so, but we're going to add an extra class for that. So we'll
So
get
we'll
more
be back
information.
here at 10:50 this morning.
Yeah.
And we'll see you in a few minutes. 10:50, we'll get started again. Thank you guys.
Great.
All right, guys, it's 10:50. We're going to get rolling again. We want to be prospecting based, marketing enhanced. So opportunities for prospecting. We talked about door knocking, whether you're geographically or demographically farming an area. Obviously, geographically would be up and down the streets. Demographically, we're looking for a certain person insofar as that engineer that might have just moved to town, because we're trying to fill a neighborhood with a company that just landed in, you know, our city, which we see a lot of that happening right now all around the country, where Amazon is dropping huge buildings here, there, and everywhere. If a new car developer starts to open up a shop or a plant somewhere, we're obviously going to see an influx of employment. There's a place in Rochester behind Skyhaven Airport. There's a French firm that opened up a few years ago, and we saw a massive influx from overseas. So being ever mindful of the fact that people are coming and going globally, especially here in New England. I think we have the massive benefit in New England of secondary education, major medical, and just lifestyle. You know, for a lot of us, if you turn to your right, there's the beach, and if you turn to your left, there's the mountains. So we've got to be aware of the fact that we live in a very desirable part of the country for those reasons. Agent to agent referrals, super important. If you're not spending enough time having these conversations, I think a great homework assignment is to just get into Command, go into referrals, and you can start to build out your referrals, and you can start to go through and click on categories to see, is this person a mega agent? Are they a bold graduate? Are they a member of the ALC, the Agent Leadership Council, in their market center? You know, I thought getting started, my thought process with our agents was, hey, if something like California, you probably need like 15 good agents. Really, all you need in California is that one great agent, because they probably know the other 14 great agents to serve Big Bear, Los Angeles, San Diego. Don't overthink it. Without fail, though, so you can have confident conversations with people that you can help them relocate all across the country. Find one great agent in every state. Look for that person in Washington, look for that person in Arizona, and have those conversations and connect and build that referral agent. There's a lot of agents that do so much agent-to-agent referral business. That's really their one thing, is they're leaning into having those conversations, and they're connecting people too. And that can be, if you get into lead generation and you find out what your one thing in lead generation is going to be, you could spend as many hours as you choose to. Typically, most people want to do less than more. Doing that from anywhere, right? Especially now where everyone's virtual. And Mark Richard, great bold coach, he said to us, our last bold that we had that was brick and mortar here in New Hampshire was, we actually graduated March 12th, the day before COVID really kicked in for a lot of people. And in that class, he said, and it's so true, if you could lead generate at a real high level, you could do it from anywhere. Like, you could sit on the beach and just set appointments for your team, you know? So that's a mindset issue about, you know, what's your skill set? What do you want your life to look like? Because if you're lead generating at a real high level and creating enough appointments, you can scale out with talent. You can send other people to kitchen tables. It doesn't have to just be you. So think about what you want your business to look like. And if you want to be the driver and the rainmaker, figure out the conversations that are going to be most productive for you, and figure out the way in which you want to do it, you know? And even if you're working from home because of lifestyle right now, or safety, or whatever the case may be, doesn't mean that you can't get in the car and just drive somewhere, you know? Well, I don't mind working from home, but I had a better view from the office, but we're not all in the office right now, or, you know, whatever the reason is. Get in your car and go drive to the shore if you live on the coastline, or go drive to that view that you love and make your calls from there. You know, you get an office with it. Most of us have an office with a steering wheel. And if you can make that comfortable enough and really make that your quiet space where you can do your work, it's not the worst idea in the world. Open houses, we're doing those differently, obviously. We're doing those, some of those people are doing them virtually, depending on the rules in your state or what your office is asking you guys to do. I know a lot of people are having people, especially with the weather is colder, they're asking people to pull up and get in their car. Somebody from the team goes out and speaks, like you're at Chick-fil-A, right? They go out and they talk to you, and you get a number like you're at the deli, and you let them pick their number to make it fun. Like, if they were going to come to my car and let me pick a number, I'd say 22. It's my favorite number, Doug Flutie. Long story. And then they're going to come to the front porch, and I'm watching, and they're telling me it's going to be about 10, 15 more minutes. They come out and they hold up 22. My family and I know to get out of our car and go in, and we're viewing the house now, right? There's still great ways to do open houses. And now capturing people's content, or capturing people's contact information, I should say, is easier than ever because we need that for contact tracing. We need that as a courtesy to the seller as well, and for contact tracing at this point. So people are going into these conversations, going into open houses, knowing that they need to share their information more so than they did in the past. The rules have totally changed in our favor insofar as grabbing contact information. And then social media. You can prospect on social media. I invite you to not get lost in the black hole that it could turn into. We have agents that do a real great job. Erin, when she was in production, built her business with social media, right? If you're not talking to Erin in person, you're talking to her socially online, and she was engaged with a lot of people, and she really leveraged that to her benefit. Social media, it's just about getting on and staying engaged, right? Don't pop that question on social media, then not re-engage with the answers, right? That comes across as tone deaf again, right? We want to be, we talk about being on social media and being engaged with people and being online, right? If you're, well, I have an online presence. Okay. You can have an online presence. Are you present when you're online? So don't just drop a question, be like, oh, I'm going to see if I can get some people talking, and then never go re-engage in the conversation. It would be like sitting talking. So how you doing? How's the family? And you start to answer me, and I get up and I walk away. It's the same thing. It's just in a different venue. So we want to be aware of the fact that if we're going to start a conversation online, we need to remain part of that conversation online. Questions, comments, anything around that before we move on? Nothing. Okay. So door knocking again. If you're doing this and really it's, we're going to go to the door, we're going to knock, we're going to step away. I would invite you to step away further than usual, making sure you're 6 feet. Ken Tassi talked about how one of his agents got the tithing basket from church with the big long pole so they could hand things back and forth. If you're going through drive-throughs, they're handing food and drinks to you, probably in a plastic container. Any way to keep it safe and make people feel safe. People want to feel heard and cared for, and certainly safe when we're physically present with them these days. So making the approach, having the appropriate distance from them, the action, and then the ask. And I would invite you to not just have a conversation, right, but leave something behind that ties into the conversation you're having. And again, people are like, well, I don't want to leave any tangible asset right now because of COVID. I appreciate that. I think if you hand it over to them, or you tape it to their door, or whatever the case may be, they can grab it later, but they're remembering the conversation they had, and there's something on their kitchen island now that they can recall, and there's some sort of call to action and a value asset you leave behind to remind them of the conversation, and so they can re-engage with you because the contact information is there too. I'm not going to tell somebody to scurry back to their kitchen to grab a notepad and a pen to write down my stuff. I want to hand them something, and even if it's a value report of what's going on in their neighborhood, to remind them of the numbers that they might be missing out on if they don't choose to list or buy or invest. And again, asking for the opportunity. And there's a million ways to do this, but hey, we've got buyers. We just sold 123 Main Street, Mr. Lindsay. I'm wondering if you or any of your friends on the street are still looking to move or thinking about moving in the near future. I used to say 10, 20, or 30 minutes just to get them thinking and pull them out of the mindset of, oh, maybe, because we had people that wanted to move into 123, but obviously only one family could move in. So is there anybody else that's interested? And asking for the opportunity to sell. Agent to agent referrals, wildly important, especially with the size of our company. Think of the 180,000, the 179,999 other agents in the country that want to be connected to you. Or maybe they don't, but certainly a bunch of them would love to be connected to you. Agent to agent referrals is really important. Going on command, starting to build those communications, growing that conversation, and then maintaining it, getting back in touch with them. If you have agent referrals that you haven't spoken to in a while, just like your personal connections, calling and saying, hey, how did 2020 treat you? What are your goals for 2021? How can I support you? Are you still working in Des Moines? Do you know now that I have my New Hampshire and my Maine and my Massachusetts license, I can personally help anybody you send out to New England right now in 3 of the states. And then I've got great referral partners in the remaining states. If we're not having that conversation, they're never going to know. And if it's somebody local that you were doing referral business with before, and they're starting to grow weary of their relationship with their brokerage, maybe you need to invite them to a training like this and start to get them engaged with us so they can see what it would be like for them when they join, not if they join, when they join. So there's that. We're not going to open up command, but this is what we're talking about when we're getting into referrals. You go into that referral network of command, and you can start to search for people. I can go in by production. I can go by the agent in Des Moines that has the most listings sold in the last 12 months. Are they a Bold graduate? Are they an ALC member? So you can really pick and choose your relationships. And I think you get that one great agent in the other 49 states, and it will start to grow from there. And there's just more people who are thinking more on your level than anybody else. Like your civilian friends aren't thinking today, wow, I hope Erin has a kitchen table to go to today. But maybe your partner out in Los Angeles knows that they have some people moving this way. And for me, it was Pig Latin, Latin, and then just English. But other than that, if you speak another language, are you connecting with those people around the country? Like if you're the only person in your town or one of very few people in your town that speak a certain language that are in real estate, you should start to branch out and have those conversations with other big cities. Go ahead, Erin.
Well, I was going to say, checking your migration patterns.
Mm-hmm.
I know a few months ago, I sent a referral to an agent in Florida. And when that deal was done, it went so well. He was like, hey, I'm looking for an agent in your area because we have a lot of people that are looking to move to your area. Are you going to be taking referrals? I'm not actively in production right now, so I gave him the name of someone else, but there are agents that are looking for those relationships. So certainly seek them out, right? But looking at where are people in your area coming from, or where are they going to, right? Like if you know everyone in your area is moving to Denver, make relationship with someone in Denver that you can consistently send referrals to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Open houses, making sure we're prepared. And this is a whole nother rabbit hole we could go down, and I'm happy to do it, but we'll go over it quickly. The open house, and I know we're doing them differently now, but as we get back to, ordinary times, and we're doing ordinary or typical open houses as opposed to the virtually based ones that we're doing now, making sure that you are getting the signs out there ahead of time. I will draw the picture of the average American realtor and what the open house looks like. It's 11 to 1 on Saturday. Sally Seller pulls up at 10:44 with one broken heel. She puts a sign in the yard upside down, one balloon because the other three popped on the way there. And they're getting set up, and they're getting in the house, and they're probably turning on lights and opening doors and getting things ready and putting out sheets while people are walking into the house. Don't be that agent. Please understand that when you're doing an open house, and I would recommend doing this just to create some more connectivity with the people that live in the neighborhood, have a 2-hour open house. Here's my recommendation. 1 hour for the civilians, right? The people that are coming from elsewhere, limiting belief. And we get this all the time, certainly, because we have a lot of people from the North Shore, Danvers, Peabody, North Reading, and they have a place up in Swissvale. It's in Moultonboro. A lot of people from the North Shore have a place in Swissvale and Moultonboro. Now, I know if somebody's leaving the North Shore to go up to Moultonboro, it's going to take them a certain amount of time. Okay, if they know the open house is from 12 to 1, their face needs to leave Danvers in the appropriate amount of time to have their face be at the open house from 12 to 1. I think creating some false excitement around a smaller window for you to have people going through the house, and not so it's crowded, not so it's hectic, but to protect your time for your family. What's the second hour of the open house? It's an hour before that, the private event for the neighbors in the neighborhood to make them feel exclusive. What it will also do is when I'm pulling up to Erin's open house that I know starts at 12 and there's people inside already, I'm a human. I just got FOMO. What am I missing out on? What's going on? Why are they all laughing? Where'd you get that margarita? You want a Buick? Like all this stuff is starting to go through their mind. Like what is taking place this hour beforehand? And you can politely explain, when I do an open house in a neighborhood, there's always an exclusive event for the neighbors in the neighborhood. I want to grow a bond with these people, especially if I'm farming this neighborhood and I want to be the mayor. I'm going to do something different for them. Then the general public gets an hour. Doesn't need to be longer than that because here comes Murphy's Law. When the open house is ending at 1 o'clock, and I know Erin agrees with me, at 1 o'clock, what happens, Erin, at the open house? The people from Danvers show up.
Yeah.
Yes, everyone starts showing up at 1 o'clock. And you have to be okay with that. You have to plan for that. That's why you don't need to make it 2 hours long for the public. You can make it 1 hour. I'm not telling you how to run an open house. We're offering best practices. The people are going to show up at the last minute. We need to serve them as well. We don't need to give them 2 hours to be late. 1 hour is going to make them late enough, right? It's just, it's uncanny how often it happens. So please be respectful of your family's time, because most open houses that we're doing are Saturdays and Sundays. And I know how important it is to be with our loved ones over the weekend. So protect your time, shorten those open houses, make them impactful and make them powerful by having a private section for your neighbors in the street, and then a public section for the people that are coming from elsewhere. Where are we? Slide. You could host a speaker. I mean, you can make these bigger. Go ahead, Erin.
Well, I just saw Jeffrey Rainey, you have your hand up. Is that
Yes, sir.
from
Sorry about that.
earlier?
It might be from earlier. What about Donna?
Okay.
Is Donna waiting
I'm
too?
gonna lower
That
your
was from
hand,
earlier.
Jeffrey. Okay. I'm
Go
gonna
ahead,
lower it.
Donna. Donna's
Go ahead,
waving.
Donna.
Yep.
Yeah. So in Massachusetts,
Mhm.
I've seen a trend that open houses have been in like late afternoon,
Mhm.
Wednesday, Thursday. What are the thoughts on that?
I
In
think knowing your neighborhood, and I'm going to let Erin take this, knowing your neighborhood. If I know the commuters, if I know this house is going to be invaluable to somebody who might be grabbing a job at the company that just opened down the street, I want to highlight the fact that you're passing an open house that could take 20 minutes off your commute.
Gotcha.
Right. So I think knowing your neighborhood, if I know that the soccer field is going to be having all their games on a Saturday at 11, I'm going to have it when traffic is going by, because maybe people have enough kids that play soccer. They'd love to live that close because then their kids could run to practice.
Okay.
Right. Just really knowing your neighborhood and speaking the language of those people. Go ahead, Erin.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it depends on the property, the location. What about, how quickly you need to get it sold? Do you know, somebody that's going to come to an open house on a Wednesday or Thursday may be more motivated and ready to buy than someone who's coming through on a Saturday or a Sunday, right?
Yep.
We get the, we call them looky-loos, right? Like on the weekends sometimes. If you're really serious about buying, you probably will attend an open house in the middle of the week. So maybe you're eliminating, in COVID times, you're eliminating those people who just want to see what the house looks like, right? And that's to the benefit of your seller, right? Or they don't have to leave their house on the weekend, right? So that could be part of your value proposition when you're at the listing appointment. I know you work hard all week and you want to be able to be in your home during the weekend. If we did open houses for a couple of hours during the week, would that be better for you, right? So that's the other piece of it, is that if your marketing is good and you're promoting and you're connecting to other agents to get people into the property, your open house is going to be successful, right? It doesn't matter if it's on a Wednesday or a Thursday or a Saturday, as long as you're inviting people and doing all the things that you need to do. I've had bumping, open houses on a Thursday and completely dead ones on a Saturday. So if it's all about the things that you do to drive people to your open house.
Yep.
So.
Well, and I think the mindset too is, well, I would typically do a broker open house during the week, and I would do a public open house on the weekend. And I'd love for you guys to really think through, what is our fear between doing a mixed open house, right? Because here's the thing. Well, I don't want brokers. I don't want my chocolate in my peanut butter. I get that. I don't want other brokers near my prospective buyers. At the same time, if the brokers are worth their salt, they're not going to come to your open house and try to steal people that are really there to be in conversation with your commodity. And above and beyond that, I think you could kill two birds with one stone. We've also seen, if you look this up, I rave about this guy all the time. I forget his name, but his process is awesome. It's called the 10-day blitz. He's out in San Diego. He's a KW agent. He does 2 open houses. He does a public one on the Sunday, and then he does a broker one on the Wednesday. It's part of a 10-day window in which he gets the home sold very quickly. And that's his process. I also don't think, because when we're having a broker open house, sometimes people don't put out a sign because they're like, oh, everybody knows where to be. But sometimes you put out an open house sign at a broker open house during the week, and you think, well, nobody's going to come because everybody's at work, but the brokers will come because I have shrimp the size of a baby's arm and maybe some champagne, right? So if that's the case, there's no sign that says broker open house. We just put out an open house sign. And one of the coolest stories I have is I had a client who didn't want to do a public open house, would allow me to do a broker open house to get the word out. And a civilian walked into my broker open house and turned out to be the person that bought the house.
Right.
which is, like, I don't need to be told I'm right. I love hearing that, but like, that was a great day for me. And it was just proving to my seller, like
Oh,
it's,
it's your one day.
it was a one. Yeah. I've got it. It's etched on my heart. We have that opportunity to just get everyone there and create a bigger conversation and really to save your time. I'm not telling you that you should do that. At the same time, this feeling that, well, I wouldn't do a public open house during the week. I absolutely would, Donna. I think if you're looking for that commuter and you're trying to tell that story of getting home from the office quicker, not quicker to the office, but home from the office, when they're looking at your open house, it looks amazing at a red light and they've got 30 more minutes to their house, they might pull over. And they're looking for the excuse. It's from 4 to 6. I can leave the office early. I mean, they're looking for a reason.
That's what
to
I
come
was
check
going
it
to
out.
say
Yeah.
too. I think in our current climate, and this may or may not hold true going forward, right? Like how many people are working from home and will be forever going forward, right?
Sure,
So
possible,
and
yep.
they're looking for stuff to do. Like honestly, invite me to an open house on a Wednesday night. I'm there, man. Like because my life is work and basketball right now, right? So there's if you've got champagne, I'm definitely there.
Well, maybe Prosecco, but not.
Yeah. Amen, sister. Yes.
So, but I think like someone saying maybe less competition. I think just being creative about how we think about this, and just because someone's always done it a certain way, doesn't mean that it's the only way, right?
Donna's having an open house next Wednesday at Drink O'Clock, just so everybody has that in
Okay.
their notes. Yeah.
I also think it makes a huge difference because of the inventory. When your inventory is hot and you wind up with those homes where you know that you're going to have 40 people like banging down your door right away. If you're going to if you list a house on Tuesday and you're waiting all the way until Saturday to have that open house, you're going to be inundated with all those people that want in to see it before then anyway. So if you did that open house on Wednesday, you're kind of making it easier on yourself because you're going to get that out of the way during the week. Inventory is so low in so many areas that they will come. Like
right. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think and we have a comment in the chat about doing open houses with a sign-in. I know we actually have an open house session in this Elemental, so we're going to get into that more. I have heard from agents that have tried to do the, limited time for people and the sign-in, that it becomes a logistical piece. So if you are planning to do that, I certainly wouldn't suggest maybe running the open house by yourself. Like make sure you have some other agents with you. You could, even if you're brand new, maybe offer to help another agent with their open house by doing that, signing people in, making sure that they're walking through the house timely, letting them know, hey, we're due to COVID, we're going to limit our time in the property. We're asking you to limit your showing to 20 minutes. If you need a private showing at a later time, let me know on your way out. Whatever it is, whatever your script is going to be around that, have a plan. Because I have heard when people don't have a plan and they try to get everybody to sign in, it's kind of a nightmare.
Yeah. Donna, I think you had your hand up again.
Yeah. So the reason I asked the question was I've been going to open houses in my neighborhood, and I introduce myself, make it clear who I am. And the ones on the weekends have been empty. And that's why, and I've stayed a while, I'm like, okay, so I came in at the beginning, I'll stay a while. And I live, in a pretty good area. So I'm kind of surprised. That's why I brought up the thing about the weekdays.
I agree. We've seen, certainly up here, we've seen really good numbers with open houses. I'm going to invite you guys to turn to page 71 in your hymnal labeled Shift. If you go to page 71 in Shift, I'm probably wrong, but I feel like I'm right. Having a good day. I'm right. Page 71 in Shift. It is called, Donna, it's called the 7th level open house.
Yep.
If you took your open house, and this is, I recommend you don't, if you have an opportunity to do an open house, this should be a week out. I would start these activities this weekend for next Saturdays. Saturday the 23rd, I'm doing an open house. If you look at page 71 of Shift, it pulls you through all the activities that you could do. I would argue, especially in this environment, if somebody has an under-attended open house, it's because they didn't tell the story.
Yeah, you didn't invite people.
I
you
made a
didn't-
flyer. I put it on
Yeah.
my wife's MySpace. I can't believe nobody came. Like, really, Jerry? Really? You know, she's got
Yeah.
4 friends and 9 of them are dead. Why do you think nobody came? You know, so we've got to be smarter about how we're doing that reverse prospecting in our MLSs. If you have MLS pin, you can go in and obviously you can see how many people have looked at, for example, with Naren here in New Hampshire and Southern Maine. I can go in and I can see my 123 Main Street, and I can see account numbers, which are client numbers, but I can see that it's tagged to Erin and Kelly and Donna. And I can say, hey, Donna, you've got 3 clients that are interested in 123 Main Street. I just wanted to make you aware. We're doing an open house Saturday from 11 to 1. I'd love to see you. If you send your people, there's obviously per COVID going to be a sign-in sheet. Make sure they list your name so I can get back to you and find out if they have any more interest after the Saturday afternoon event is over, right? Super simple, but you're reminding people that it's going on. We make this one flyer and throw it on social media and then just hope for the best. And that's spray and pray. Right? We want to aim small, miss small. And if we're doing that, we're going to be more successful for sure.
So Tim, we got a question in the chat about what is Shift, and I just want to make sure that if you don't know what Shift is, it's a book by Gary Keller.
Yeah.
The Millionaire Real Estate Agent is also a book that we reference a lot. That's it's sort of your business plan, right? It's the how do you build your business, and then Shift is the activities. It's the things that you do in your business. It's lead generation, it's prospecting, it's marketing, it's the 7th level open house. It's all of those things.
If you go on Amazon, and yes, you can do it on Keller Inc. If Gary's listening, yes, Keller Inc. is a thing. If you go on Amazon for ease of use, you can go on Amazon and punch in Millionaire Real Estate Agent. What will typically happen is other books like this book typically populate below. You're going to also see shifts. So to Erin's point, the red book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, the book, this is really the blueprint for the business, as Erin was saying, right? This is going to be the foundational systems and models. When you take Business Planning Clinic, it is the MREA Business Planning Clinic. That's what we speak of. This is the book that we dissect during that class. Then Shift is the playbook for the activities. And this is not about a single event. Like, oh, thank God I read Shift for the day after COVID hit. No, if we're practicing these tenets 365 days of the year, we'll always be weatherproof for shifts, which we're always in a shift. We're just in different shifts at all times, right? Then if we're going to continue along the 4 Gospels of Gary Keller or of Keller Williams, I would say, I would argue the 3rd book you should dig into, which is a smaller read. It typically looks white. It's called The One Thing. My dust cover is missing. The tenet of this book, there's the dust cover, same book. The tenet of this book is, what is the one thing that I could do that such by doing everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? And that for us is lead generation. That's the one thing. And then for me personally, I think the 4th Gospel is not written by Gary. I know, blasphemous. It's Michael Mayer, also a Keller Williams agent. Michael Mayer, Maher, and it is called The 7 Levels of Communication. And in that book, the premise of that book, or the mantra in that book that I love is today somewhere in this city. So Donna lives in Boston. Today somewhere in Boston, big city, Donna, you better get your walking boots on. Today somewhere in Boston, someone is looking for help, and it's my job to find them. And it's really, that's our job every day. Like, I've got to get on the horn. I've got to talk to my people. I've got to find the person in need that I can serve today. One person at a time, right?
And my book number 4 would be You Are a Badass. I'm not kidding.
I know. We've all got our different 4th gospel. Anyway, so getting into social media, and we want to skate a little bit faster. We want to get you guys out of here on time. For clarity's sake, I think some people saw in the chat about a class at 12. We're going to do that next. That was an old link or an old thread. I am going to teach something next Friday. We can talk about it during the week, what you guys want us to teach. We'll do an added hour of education with one of our KWU classes next Friday at 12. There. That being said, social media. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jessica. Go ahead.
I just wanted to give a super awesome resource for people who are doing open houses. I used to use it when I was the vice president of the PTO for my daughter's school. We used it for parent-teacher conference sign-up. It's called signupgenius.com. It allows you to do sign-up slots so that maybe you can schedule people because of COVID.
I'm laughing because we love it. We use it all the time.
Yeah.
It's a great resource.
I use Block Party, the Block Party app for open houses a lot. That's a great resource as well. Just you're able to, like, especially where COVID tracking, like you're just able to collect their information real quickly, and then you're able to transfer that right over to your CRM or email that to, like, if you're hosting for a different agent, you're able to send those contacts right over to that listing agent to say, here's who came by the open house today. Block Party, great app.
Have you used Sign Up Genius too?
I have not used Sign Up Genius.
I was just wondering if there's a comparison or anything like that. I'll have to look into that. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So social media, and it says, select. We want to pick one, and it's not that you can't do them all. You can, but let's get one, and let's get one up and running. Let's get one to 40,000 feet, and then we can spend time on the next one, right? So I'll pick on one of our great agents up here. His name is Josh Johnson. He's in the Wolfboro office, and he leaned heavy into LinkedIn. And it has been the absolute driver of his business. He's on there. He's sharing content. He's sharing beautiful listings from around the country. And then he's folding his listings into the conversation as well. If you're familiar with the Lakes region in and around Wolfboro, it's really a tale of two cities. I think people assume that everything has 13 decimal points in it and everybody lives next to Mitt Romney. That's not the case. There are ranches and there are waterfronts. And he spends his time, with people with vacation homes and stuff like that. And he's been real purposeful about that. You'll see him on Instagram. You'll see him on Facebook. His intentionality with his business is on LinkedIn. So he picked that. He's looking for certain people. He's diving into conversations with certain individuals that he knows would have discretionary income or looking for that second home. That's most of what he's doing. Not that he's not helping people relocate up there, because again, when you're talking about New England in general, just as a region, a lot of people are coming here because there's more trees, less people. Even if you're in Boston, compared to Boston is so much more a town than a metropolitan, we still have more trees than people. So New England is a destination for people that are that are changing their lifestyle due to COVID or just changing their lifestyle due to life events. And then sharing content. And this is so important that we take that 80-20 rule we've talked about, right? Pareto's law. And usually it is 20% of your efforts give you 80% of your results. So you would think, okay, I should 80-20 rule here. I definitely on my business page should be 80% business, 20%, social or 20% personal. Wrong. Right? We want to keep it lifestyle based. And what we mean by that is if I have a personal page and a business page, the misconception that they'll never find my personal page, I'm telling you right now, they will. Everyone is a private eye. Welcome to the internet, right? So you can't be uber professional on your business page and then, somebody in a bikini riding a donkey, double fisting margaritas. And I saw the picture, Matt, you look great. So like, if that's what they're going to find and it's going to tell two stories of you, we want to rethink that. Let's go back to the business page because we can't practice our business conversations on our personal page. Zuckerberg gets excited. So we're going to have all of our conversations about real estate on our business page. And what I'm saying with 80-20 is make sure as you come down my news feed, because people can like your page and then unfollow it. Never forget that, right? So as Erin McLaughlin is coming down my news feed, I'm already rolling my eyes because it's Erin, but yet here she comes. And when she hits in front of my face, do I stop scrolling because she always delivers value? And what do I mean by that? She's giving me, so Donna, great example. If you're doing that open house or a broker open house, you could say, hey, listen, broker open house over the weekend. That's all I said about real estate. Just had a great broker open house, right? Or just say open house because the civilians sometimes don't know what we mean. Just had a great open house. And I served this mocktail. And if you add X, right? Or for the special ingredient to make it super delicious, direct message me or call me and I'll give you the full recipe. But all you teased it with was, I was just at a broker open house. Here's a great mocktail we enjoyed. Happy Mother's Day. If you want to spice up this mocktail and make it a cocktini, I can help. Shoot me a text or something like that just to change it. But I didn't spend a whole bunch of time talking about real estate. It's always delivering value. And it's always reminding them you're the connective tissue of the neighborhood. You are the mayor of their town. 20% of it is going to be congratulations to the Lindsays who just relocated from Spokane, Washington. Because I want to remind them what I do. But think about your friends who are dentists. Think about your friends who do a lot of other businesses. They're not on social media all day pounding their chest that they just did 2 root canals and 3 fillings. Like you would just stop paying attention, right? So we want to deliver value. We want to always have something that's going to make them stop, read. Hey, we're getting up to like Columbus Day weekend up in Wolfboro. The Wolf Trap Inn is going to close, swinging this weekend for great apps and drink specials. And we'll see you guys all next spring. And they're like, oh yeah, Timmy seems to always know what's going on in town. Because when people are looking to list their home, they're looking for the rock star agent that knows everyone, right? So we want to remind them of that as we're sharing on our social media. Erin did a ton of social media. I don't know what posts were best for interaction for you, but I trust that I'm not making this up, right? We want to be socially engaged.
Yeah. So, and I think the other thing too is you really want to pepper your personality and yourself into all of this, because it's voyeurism marketing, really is what it is, right? So there's an
Look
element.
what the slide says.
Yeah,
Crazy.
they really want to know. People want to get to know you, and so the power of social media is that they can get to know you without actually having to talk to you, right? And so the more that you can sort of tell the story of who you are and how you help people, and maybe what your goals are, and just letting them get to know you a bit. That doesn't mean oversharing, right? It means letting them into some specific aspect of what it is that you're doing for people, or how you operate, or just your personality. They'll continue to engage, right? So social media is not your trophy case for your business.
Oh, where's Tim? He's polishing his ego. Yeah.
We all know the realtor who does it that way. And then I think inevitably start doing it that way because we think that that's what realtors do, right? Like, oh, look at what I sold. Look at what I sold. Look at the public actually doesn't care, right? They don't they want to know the story. So some of the ways like we would do on our team, the posts that people would really get excited about, if we were showing multiple properties in a day, we would show we would take sort of strange shots, but shots that people would know, and say, guess where we are?
Yeah. And
throughout the day, have people try to guess where we were, right? Like things like that, like where are we now? And give a gift card or something or whatever, like have a prize or, but you don't even need to do that. Like some people will just engage.
Yep.
If you tell the story of, I think one of the posts that was really got a lot of interest, I took a video at a piece of land that I was showing, but I was in the video, right? So I was like, oh my gosh, it's a great day to go slip and slide in the snow and show a piece of land and look at this view. Can you guys imagine there'd be a house here? Like what an awesome view. Hope you're getting outside and going for a walk today. Strap on your snowshoes and your boots because it is cold, right? Like something like that, just engaging and having a conversation. But that post actually, so many people commented on it. Where was that piece of land? Where are you? What are you showing? Is that in New Hampshire? Like, because I didn't give any other information.
Yep.
So I think sort of just like you would
Spark
be
curiosity.
Yeah, in a conversation, right? You want to be interesting, you want to be funny, you want to be yourself. So yeah. And we'll talk more about that on the 29th.
Yeah. So if we look at this slide, this is where Gary, and this invariably happens every year. People are like, here's the 38 things I'm going to do to get business in 2021, right? And you've got this grand list. So there's 10 here, obviously. And what we know and what Gary's always mentioned to us is that there's going to be like a core 4. There's going to probably be, and I don't want you to be a one-trick pony. Gary doesn't want us to be one-trick ponies. And especially now we had to evolve. There were probably some things you did in 2019 that around March 13th of 2020 might have changed. We had to just deliver them differently, or they're things that we just haven't dusted back off yet because we're just not doing them because the way in which our state is asking us to behave in and around COVID. So what are your core 4? Gary would argue 5, right? Typically 80% of our agents got 90% of their business from 5 sources or less. And this is where we go back into the 15th protocol. Today is the 15th, great day to do it. Of the 10 things you promised your face you were going to do in the new year, it is January 15th. You've spent 15 days doing some of those things. Which ones are working? Which ones have you already decided aren't worth your investment of time or money? And let's get it down to the things that we know we do well. Do we have those 4 or 5 irons in the fire that I know that I could grab in a moment's notice and create the lead or the conversation or the contact or the appointment at will? And that's really where it stands. So I trust for most of you, whether you love it or not, one of your core 4 is probably going to be the phone, right? It's just,
It's a fast route to business.
yes, it's a
Okay.
human,
so that's
human
the other
batting
thing.
cage. Yes, the
Yeah.
human batting cage.
Yeah. Like if
So-
you just want to get busy fast, just make calls.
So from a prospecting standpoint, let's hear from some people outside of the phone. What are the other things that you love to do that get you in one-to-one real-time engagement? Because don't forget, we changed that. If you're a veteran bold agent, you remember that we talked about what a contact really was. Never mind what the lead was and how Gary defines leads and contacts, but a contact could be one-to-one interaction in real time. So you could be messaging with somebody in real time. Not I text Matty Howard and a week later he texts me back, and then a week later I text him back. That's like smoke signals. But if we're texting back in real time, we consider that a contact. We consider that real interaction. So what are some other things that you guys are doing that you're finding success that you could share?
I've had a little bit of success with networking groups. And I think part of, with what's going on right now with the pandemic, it's harder to go to networking events, or there are no networking events other than virtual networking events. But if you get into a networking group and you're doing like we do a monthly Zoom, but members expect to connect with each other together individually.
Sure.
So some people are still receptive to getting a cup of coffee and doing that safely, with
Sure.
distance.
Absolutely.
It's a potential opportunity.
Yeah, if the weather's not ridiculous and you could just tell somebody like, hey, Maddie, meet me on the Charles, and what do you want to drink? And I'll bring the coffee. And you hand them their coffee and you guys walk 6 feet apart. If people want to get out and get fresh air, I think some people enjoy the mask because it protects your face from the wind chill. Outside of that, at least you're outside, you're getting some exercise, you're engaging, you're still doing it safely. And you got to buy them a cup of coffee and have that interaction. I would also encourage, and I think that was Matt. You didn't come up on my screen. Was that Matt Riley?
Yeah.
I would encourage you guys to think about what Jason Abrams has always said to us. Again, what are you currently near that you're not in? And play into your passions. Like if I'm going to use words that will make Aaron smile immediately. Book club. So if you're a book club dork, if that's your jamity jam,
We're not dorks.
no, you're wonderful people. So if book, I told my wife I joined a book club. It's actually a men's indoor golf league, but that's beside the point. So yes. So my book club and Aaron's book club, wildly different. Yet at the same time, you get to interact with your people. There's a commonality, right? We keep talking about this, and I'll always use this reference point. If the room is the glass, the cocktail is the conversation, the ice cubes are the people in the conversation. We want to be the straw in the drink, right? So if you can start a group, that seems like a lot of work. Welcome to real estate. If you could start a group surrounding one of your passions, book club, even get a golf pro to come on and tell you guys how bad you are in person. That's fun, right? But you could share your swings via video format and get some intel from a local pro or your friend who's really good at golf, and just start maybe even a golf club. If you started a plant club, crochet club, we made fun of all that. Where's the alpaca club? You could start a club, and it's not come to my real estate alpaca club. It's come talk about alpacas, which sounds wildly interesting. Where do I sign up? At Sign Up Genius, actually. Or, and then when I'm in this conversation, at some point, somebody's gonna be like, hey, where's Matty Howard? I'm over here. Hey, Matt, I really want to thank you for starting this group. Hey, I was wondering, do we mind if we talk about, because at some point somebody's gonna be like, well, this is a cool commonality conversation. How do we take it, to Matt Riley's point? How do we take it to that networking opportunity? What does everybody in the room do, right? Because somebody's a butcher, somebody's a baker, somebody's a candlestick maker, somebody sells life insurance. God help us. And then they're going to find out you sell real estate. Oh, really? What? I mean, and I know we say this and you guys people aren't that excited. People are excited to talk about real estate more than anything else. More than anything else. So when they find out that Matty Riley was really cool, started this group about alpacas, we're having these conversations, and then somebody's gonna be like, well, where's Matt Riley? He started this group. I wanted to thank him for that. Or thanks for hosting these every week, Matt. you know, and then it comes up, the background music is that we're doing real estate. That empowers us to have these conversations. That will be powerful moving through, because you didn't show up. Nobody wants to be salesy. I don't want to be smarmy. I don't want to be the shark in the water. Well, then have the conversation about the thing that you love, build that commonality with other people passionate about the same thing, and let real estate show up later. And they'll never forget that that's how they met you. It was never salesy to start, but that's how he powers himself to have these conversations, create freedom, afford expensive clubs, buy books, whatever the case may be. Just a thought.
Becky has her hand up.
Go ahead, Beck.
What I was going to say is I'm a newer agent, so I'm still in the process of transitioning. So I work in a restaurant as well. And basically, I mean, I knew we were going to get to this point. I've worked in sales before. And so I have been sharing my entire journey with everybody who I work with. So, you know, from when I was taking my course to when I was studying for my exam, for when I passed my exam, when I started working with Keller Williams and all the training I'm doing. And I've gotten, you know, 2 seller leads and 1 buyer lead just from other people I work with. And then just one of my regulars that come in every Saturday, you know, I know they request me every single Saturday. I see them, and we've been talking, and they were like, oh yeah, we're looking to retire down in the Cape, down in Dennis. We're looking at houses. And, you know, I have to be careful about soliciting at another person's business, but I decided to print pens because it's what I hand out every single night to everybody. So I handed them my pen. I said, hey, listen, I'm an agent. I'd love to speak with you. I just started talking about the market. And I said, oh, I know this because I'm an agent. And I handed my pen at the end. I said, hey, listen, it's got all my contact info on it. So if you want to just get in touch with me. So it just, I've been networking with different people there. You know, I decided to take over being room parent for my daughter. So I took my Keller Williams signature and put it on all my personal email as well. So I have all of those emails from her class parent, from all the parents in her class now too. So just kind of putting myself out there and networking with different groups and getting involved in the community, even if we're not, you know, out actually meeting people, you can do that in other ways too.
Becky, quick question for you. With those efforts you're putting forward, which I adore, and I appreciate that you shared that with everybody, how many people have grabbed your arm on the way out of the restaurant and said, how dare you share your other career with us?
None.
0.
None. I think
Cool.
you just need to do it.
Wildly important stat. Everybody write that down. No one was offended when Becky asked if she could serve them in another environment. Excellent.
You have to be careful too. You know what I mean? Like I don't solicit business. That, you know, I do it tactfully. And, you know, one of the things I do is when people mention it to me, I'd be like, hey, great. How about I grab your number and I'll give you a call tomorrow and talk about it then. And I just move the conversation to, plus it gives me my professional persona. So I can, you know, I change that relationship.
Yeah, you make a great point, because I know when Erin and I are coaching our agents and we find out that you guys are dual career agents, we always ask, does your other employment support your efforts to move forward or move out of that job, right? And, you know, and if the restaurant you're at is not celebrating that you're a real estate agent, and, you know, and it's not, they're not celebrating, they're not dying for you to be like putting people in headlocks and have them sign contracts at the table when they're trying to eat their clam roll. I understand that. At the same time, you know, to your point, nobody's been offended. So awesome. Good for you. Great opportunity, right? Because you're already there. You're already serving them well. I mean, one of the things that people, the homes that we buy may be the most expensive thing, but what do people get? We're going to use it twice today. What do people get really persnickety about? Their food, right? So if you rock and roll at the restaurant and my cocktail's ice cold and 2 cherries and the whole 9 yards and my food's great and you're awesome and you do what every waiter or waitress do, you walk up while I'm chewing and ask me if everything's awesome, and I have to look back at you and say, yes, it's great, while there's a pickle hanging out of my mouth.
But I'll joke about it too.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I'm going to watch this guy just took a bite. I'm going to walk over. How was that sandwich? Yeah, awesome. Good for you, Becky. Appreciate that. Jessica, darling alpaca.
Yes. Hi.
Go ahead. You put the animal back in your logo. I love it.
Thank you. I have to brand myself, you know.
Yes.
I was going to say, I just thought of another resource, SurveyMonkey. Do you guys use that?
Yep.
Okay, good. Yeah. For anybody that doesn't know what that is, it's a really great way. You can email your contacts and ask them anything you want. And it's totally, you know, up to them if they want to answer, but it can give you a really good idea about like where people are in life and stuff, like, you know, having needs for real estate in the next blah, blah months.
Sure. Perfect. Thank you so much, Jessica. Lauren Carberry just raised her hand.
Hi. So I have my own business. I make dog treats, And I'm trying to find a way I mean, it's successful. I'm in a number of stores and I'm online. And I used to do events where I could speak to people and go ahead and, you know, tell them about my life and my dogs and everything that I'm doing. But now I'm trying to find a way to either with my online orders or within that realm of my followers on Instagram and Facebook, how do I kind of let them know that I'm in real estate without saying, hey, I'm in real estate, you know, kind of being pushy about it.
Not even a dog person. And Erin's going to jump in because she gets dogs. I'm crazy cat lady. We just got 2 more, so I have 4 now. So yeah, that tells you everything you need to know. That being said, as you were saying this, I thought there's such a strong bond between dog owners.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to start to brand yourself with, you know, anything, maybe even as a, like not your full-time slug line of your business, but maybe playing on the fact that that's your background, because you're going to lean into that network of people already, making your real estate dreams possible, right? PAWS, right? Just little things like that to play on the conversation. And if you've seen it on social media as of late, when you'll see a driver from any one of the delivery companies dropping something off. And I know FedEx and Amazon are both doing it now. If they hear a dog barking in the house because the Ring doorbell goes off, they run back to their truck, get a treat, and leave it back on top of the package that left on the doorstep. So little things like that. I think just start with a dog walking club or something like that. Like there's no wrong way to start the conversation. And I'm sure Erin's got better thoughts.
Ken, did you have something to share?
Yeah, I was thinking that, you know, if you look at, the tools you've got inside Command to build your website, your business Facebook page, you could begin to put your backgrounds, sort of dog themed imagery, at the top of your Facebook business page. And this way you're tying together what you're doing as your love and your hobby with your business. So that when people go to your real estate page, they're going to go, how come you got dogs all over? You know, we love dogs, that sort of stuff.
I just wanted to jump in there really quickly, Lauren. So you're using real estate like it's a bad word. A lot of people with dogs need to have a house because they can't rent. I mean, you have a perfect segue. Don't be afraid. And the dogs can be, your passion, but real estate can be your passion too. And everyone has to have some place to house themselves and their pets. So don't be afraid of that, honestly.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to be, sending out my daily orders with a card or and no kind of, I guess, segue or I don't know, I don't want to seem, obviously I care about the people, my customers, and I don't want to infringe on, it's like cold calling them, they have no idea that I do this. So
you're not
so how do you tell the story?
You're letting them know that you have a service to offer them, and you're like going to be their guru for dogs and houses.
Yeah. So the note you send to me is, hey, Tim and Janina, I appreciate your most recent order, and really appreciate the fact that you guys have been so loyal in the last year. Looking forward to serving you and the dogs in 2021. I recently got my real estate license, and the conversation I'm having with a lot of dog owners like us, bring them back to the commonality, is that, to Jessica's point, I'm finding a lot that are having trouble finding long-term rentals and are really needing home ownership because of the dogs in their life. If you know anyone in our community, tie it back to that, that I can help with real estate needs, right? Back to Becky, who didn't want to infringe on the fact that she was talking to her clients as they're signing their checks at the restaurant in which she works. You own the restaurant, kiddo, right? It's your business. So for you to add that additional layer of service within your business, she makes dog treats. She's a dog lover. And now she's going to help me and the people that I know and love and trust find homes. Awesome. Right? So
you know what?
You're overthinking it.
Another part on the dog treat part is I, as a customer, would love to know that you are that person who understands that your treats are healthy and good and wholesome. And you're that person that likely carries into your real estate career, because most of the world is buying, 90% of those treats from a different country that is not as healthy. So I'd like to know if I'm buying treats from somebody, that tells me a lot about who you are.
Yeah.
So maybe
And the
just a little
trust-
mind shift there, mindset change.
Thank
The trust is already there. There's already a trust relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thank
I mean, I think that the thing would be to, and this is for all of us, right, that have multiple businesses or are switching from one field to another or adding real estate into our life, is how are you explaining that to your best friend? And from that, can you build a story that you can share with your already built sphere of influence, right? So these people already have a relationship with you. They already buy from you, right? They trust you. So how can you build on that in another way? If you were going to tell your best friend, like, hey, I went to get my real estate license and this is why, and this is how I envision it being part of my, my dog business or my whatever business, my restaurant business, my photography business, my whatever it is, we all have other things that we've done or we're doing. Because that's an important script for all of us as we're getting started. How do we explain, why did you make the choice to get into real estate? What are you hoping to do? If you have a big vision for your life, what does that look like? And how do you explain to people, I need you guys to make it happen. And I'm so excited to do this. And this is what I'm hoping to do with it, right? I can help more dogs if I, I can help dogs find homes or whatever. And there's some other great agents out there who are doing things around this. There's an agent, I'll find his name, in Boston. I feel like he wears an orange belt to everything, and his dog's collar is orange, and that's part of his logo. And his whole business is built around the Boston dog community. And he posts on where to walk your dog and dog parks. And he sponsors all these events for canines. So there's ways to do it, and there are other models out there. So
Paige has her hand up, and I don't know if Lauren's hand is still up or if she's stretching, but we'll get to Paige first, Lauren second.
Well, to your point, Aaron, I am only at like the end of my second week really as an agent.
Love
this. So, I feel like it's hard to get your name out there, and I kind of I sway back and forth whether I bring this stuff up with my clients or not, because my bosses are a little salty about me getting another job, because they don't want to lose me, and I'm the only person that they kept in this pandemic. But as an event planner, that's where my background is. And I was trying to find ways to say to people, like, why are you going to use me over an experienced agent? But I feel like in everybody's field, you can find crossover. Like, I've kind of made that my like tagline is that I am somebody who will hold your hand for your biggest life milestones, weddings, bar and bat mitzvahs, and now buying a house. So even in, dog cookie sales or, restaurants, like there's always going to be some crossover, and you can use that to your advantage.
Agreed.
Awesome.
No matter
Yeah,
what.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Different, but
So on the
something.
slide that we have up on the screen right now, this is where Gary wanted us to chunk it down. You started with 10 things that you intended to do. You might still be working at, because obviously we're 15 days into the year, but really chunking it down to, okay, I've got my list of 10 things that over the course of the year, I'm going to lean into. I'm going to see if they work for me for prospecting efforts. Then I'm going to prioritize in the order in which these 10 things I would do. And then invariably over the course of the year, you're going to realize that probably 5 of them were most fruitful for you. And you can't tell me that, well, these are my 3 favorite. Well, what were the other 7 like? Well, I never did them, right? We want to make sure we give them some time. But at the same time, if there's something on the list of prospecting or marketing that you never want to touch with a 30-foot pole, then don't. We just need to make sure we're finding, and this is why we do the DISC and the KPA. Aaron and I use that at our market center to make sure that we are putting you in the right corner of the sandbox where you're going to play best. Because it makes no sense. We hear all the time, well, I'm glad we had this conversation, because, I don't want to be hitting my head against the wall. Honest conversation as a coach, and I know Aaron and Ken can agree with me on this. as a coach, we're really just helping you bang your head against the right wall. Because sometimes the lead generation does feel like brain damage. We just got to make sure that we're putting our efforts in the right area, because there will be days that you might hammer the phones. You might talk to a ton of people and there might be no grist in the mill, and if that's the case, if that comes to pass, it stands to reason the next day will be fruitful, right? So we just want to make sure we are putting our efforts where we're excited to go and where our talents really lie. So if you chunk that down and get to your 5 or your core 4, that's going to be wildly important moving forward, because you're going to know, I'm going to get up, I'm going to do these things. And when I do these things on a consistent basis with passion and love in my heart and put air in other people's sails, I'm going to move the ball forward. Otherwise, you're just like, what are we going to try? Sign calls. Let's do some sign calls. Like, that's not a thing. They call on your sign. So if you don't have a sign in the yard, you can't deal with sign calls. Like, there's all these things that need to happen first to have any of these be a possibility for us. And it starts with your conversations with the people that you know and love and trust. Do I sound like a broken record? Welcome. Excellent. Developing that prospecting plan. So let's talk about what people are going to do today. What have you been doing with your 10-4? We spent some time this morning talking about the 10-4 a little bit more, because we were getting our act together this morning as we got started. We apologize that we left the airfield a little clunky. That being said, what are you guys doing over the last couple of weeks to lean into your 10-4? And let's have some honest conversations. If you have not yet done any prospecting, let's help you get over the hump and make that first call today in about 12 minutes. Maybe. Radio silence.
So
There it is.
I've been using smart plans a lot. But like blindly, like not predetermining if this person wants to hear from me or not, like sort of D2, but it's as I've been going through cleaning up my contacts as they're getting in. And I did that. I didn't even actually realize I sent or put this person on a smart plan to welcome them to the fact that I'm a real estate agent.
Yep.
And she texted me back through Twilio and was like, wait, who's this? What's going on?
Are you drinking?
Yeah, right. And I got back to her last night. Like my first gut instinct was like, oh God, I didn't even mean to send that to her. I'll just ignore it. She'll never know it was me. But I didn't.
She'll never know it was me, except for the signature block at the bottom of the
name on
email.
it.
She'll never know it was you. Yeah.
I was thinking of ways to crawl. I was thinking of ways to crawl under a rock. However, I didn't, and I replied, and she was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you reached out to me. I actually seriously need your help." So that was one thing that I did. The smart plans, I think, really, it was like the easy button. I sort of said it and kind of forgot about it. Forgot even who I put specifically on that one. And I've gotten some responses that were way warmer than I thought. And I was really just doing it as a practice to get used to smart plans.
Sure.
But it's yielded some results so far. I've done other things as well, but I think that was one that I really was like an eye-opening, don't pre-qualify who you're sending stuff to.
Well, you make a great point too. And as a note to everybody, I would encourage you to put yourself on any campaign or smart plan you're starting. Include you, so you can see what there's going to be an opportunity for you to preview it as the sender. At the same time, what does it really look like to the end user? Because if you're doing that 12 months out of the year and it's the Happy St. Patrick's Day email in March and somebody sees you in Market Bucket, they're like, "Hey, I saw you dressed up like a leprechaun," and you're like, "Yeah," like you completely forgot because you're not on it and you don't remember what's happening right now. It's just and even if you create the marketing@me.com to send that, so you're not even dumping because it'll get lost, and just have where you can review so truly know what it looks like to the end user. Because historically there's going to be some difference between the last edit that you approve for play and what's going out. So that's important. And I'm glad you brought that to speech too, because I think too many people are overthinking how people are going to feel when they get something from you. People are getting physical mail and email on a constant basis. I would invite you to get permission to start to send stuff to them first. If you're going to send out a physical asset or a digital asset first, I would follow up pretty quickly with the phone call, because then it comes across as, if that's going to be your foot in the door, it comes across as less salesy when you're following up pretty quickly with a phone call. Hey, I sent something out this week. I wanted to make sure you got it. And I just wanted to have a conversation. I have entered into real estate. I'm working with Keller Williams. And do you know anybody that we can help? We're looking for listings right now. Are you guys thinking of moving? You know, if you just send out that one mailer, right? And to your point, you weren't even sure who was on that list to follow up with, right? Because it's the build it, feed it, engage it, and then follow up and follow through. And people get hung up on follow up. That's important. Follow through is more important.
Yeah,
Because
no,
now
and,
you
there's
might be
definitely
getting
one task.
contacts coming back in with questions that you're not even answering because you don't even know where to find those. So
Yeah.
just make sure we're up to speed on all that.
Yeah, and I'm using my husband as an email guinea pig. He's like, got another email from you today. Thanks.
Yeah, and even he's not writing back, so you got to work
No,
on your
no,
craft.
he's
Yeah.
He's not selling either. It's weird.
Yeah, I was gonna say if he's looking for a place to move, you might want to have a conversation. You better take him to dinner. Maybe
Yeah,
some
exactly.
quality time. Yeah. What can I do to make you not leave?
Right.
Yeah. Usually it's you guys changing the locks, though. I trust. Yeah.
Yeah.
As I say to most of my male friends, most of us outkicked our coverage. So yeah. Anybody else? What are we working on? What are you guys doing in the last week to make sure that you're having your conversations?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mary.
Hi. First of all, this class is just wonderful. And a few times, people have reminded me that people, typically don't bite or don't bark when you call them. So last week, I picked up the phone and called a neighbor, a lovely young woman. I've known her for years. And to let her know that over the next, by the 1st of March, I would be listing a property in our town. And so she got back to me about a day later and has a friend in town who wants to move to this area. So I thought that was terrific. And the new person followed up with me. And I believe the house that I'm going to list might be too small for them, but we had a nice exchange. But then someone else had said in one of our classes about even the timeliness of listing, even though there's no right season. So the house that I'm going to be listing, I've known the woman, we've been talking about this for about a year, and our plan had been to list it March 1st. And so I did the comps, and right now in her bracket, there's only one other house on the market in town. So the bottom line is I emailed her, told her this, and I meet her tomorrow for a listing agreement and buyers. She wants to buy through me.
Awesome.
And I'm going to do what you people taught me and have all my forms right with me. So I just have to say thank you, thank you, thank you. This course has been terrific. So, and keep giving me a little nudge. So I'll have courage.
The course
thank
is
you.
nothing without, all of you guys engaging. So we appreciate your time over the past couple of weeks. And obviously we've got 2 more weeks to go. And
Great.
we're so much stronger as if you think about the power of, and I probably a little off with attrition. We might be right around the same of the 180,000 agents in North America, 6,000 are in New England.
Wow.
Right? So our region is pretty powerful. And when you talk about price point and what, between all the market centers in New England, if you think about the volume that we did, our little engine that could here at 463, you guys at our market center, I think a year ago, we did 1.4 billion and we helped like 4,800 families. This past year, we did 1.9 billion in volume and helped like 5,300 families. You guys are in a powerful position to change lives. And if you're not having that conversation, you're doing the universe a disservice. So as I trust, she's probably going to be very excited with her sharp red crayon to sign that paperwork. When you see her, remind her, because of the low inventory, which means one other person, congratulate her for setting the market in her town, right? That's a big part of the conversation, because other people that are waiting for the snow to melt, they're waiting for the seasonality to pass. They're going to, and it's pack mentality. The humans want to do everything together, right? Yeah, but she's super smart to get on the market now, because people are moving all the time. People are moving all the time, and she will have, and if she's priced appropriately, she's going to make the other house that might be similar to hers look like, crazy town. So congratulations to her to be the second house in town. That's an awesome opportunity for her, and good for you.
Yeah, my mother actually just bought a house, and she viewed it like 2 days before Christmas, it was a steal, an absolute steal. And her offer was accepted, I think partially because of the timing.
Yeah, for sure. And Gary said it last March, and it's always going to be true. No one's ever going to buy, sell, invest, or join a real estate brokerage that they don't want to. And it's appropriate for them to buy, sell, or invest, or join a real estate brokerage when it's appropriate for their family's success. End of story. That's when the time is right. It's not about, well, hey, listen, Timmy, I need a signed contract or my TL is going to kick me in the face. Like, it's not about our success or our metrics. If we're consistently doing the activities we should be doing, we're going to be finding the person that needs our help, not find the person who we're going to hornswoggle into signing a contract today. Like, that's just not it at all. Right. So if we're picking up our phone with love in our hearts coming from contribution, we're always going to find the right people. I don't believe coincidence is a thing. Like, it's all about making sure that you're connecting with the right people.
Thank you.
Hey, can I ask a quick, I know we got to run soon, but can I ask
Go
a
ahead.
quick question? I just wanted to get your thoughts on the concept of outreach and the form it takes in terms of how it's sequential. In other words, is there a recommendation like, if maybe you have an acquaintance, they're not like an immediate sphere, but kind of on the fringe, maybe you haven't connected with them a while. Is it generally the thought that, hey, it's good to kind of reach out with an email first and then follow it up with a phone call versus vice versa as a way of warming it up? Just wondering what folks' thoughts are on something like that. Thanks.
Yeah, I think everybody's different. So I think the order in which people choose to do their engagement is going to be different for everyone. And I think a lot of people are going to lean away from the phone because it's easy to lean away from the phone. And I appreciate that. I think getting permission and really breaking, because if I go email to Maddie, and then I go social media to Maddie, then a newsletter, then a postcard, and then another email. What am I invariably putting off? I'm kicking the can down the road of eventually having the conversation. So I think and especially from the do not call standpoint, and again, these are people you know and love and trust, I would get that first phone call out of the way, rip the Band-Aid, have that conversation. And if it's a 15-year phone call, 7-year phone call, use my New Year's Eve script and get re-engaged with them and gain permission to stay engaged with them. And really at that point, I can find out, hey, moving forward, if you guys have further questions about that home that you want to buy up on the lake in Wolfboro in the next 18 months, repeating back to them what they just said to you as I'm taking notes. So I have a game plan for the next 18 months. What's the best way to stay in touch? I'm going to build that neighborhood report for you through Command. And if I have market information for the Lakes region, would you like that as well? I didn't say, do you want one every month? He's going to get one every month, right? But I'm asking in which ways I can stay in contact, and I'm confirming with him. And I've had the conversation that needs to eventually happen at some point anyway. I would go phone first because it's the heaviest lift. It's like being a kid. Just eat your vegetables, right? Just eat the frog first, right? We joke about that all the time. Get the heavy lift out of the way. And then really we joke all the time about, we had to tell people 7 times we're in real estate before they forget. If you look at 36 Connect, it's 9 touches a quarter, right? So we're talking about, and some of these things are going to get pulled out of the conversation right now because of COVID, but we're talking about, client events, digital contact, physical contact insofar as physical collateral, digital collateral, making sure that you're getting enough touches in every quarter. So I wouldn't want to go. We're going to go once a month. We just said with the newsletter, if I'm doing once a month, it's about 15 months to get noticed, 18 months to get teeth, meaning interaction, a response, or somebody who's raising their hand saying they're ready to be transactional. So if you can just expedite that process, because you're going to create more goodwill because they're hearing from you and you're creating mind share. If you're a veteran agent in this class right now, I guarantee you've had your first sign and one of your good friends is like, oh my God, I've seen your sign everywhere. It's in 1 yard, right? But they love you and you ticked off their RAS and now they're like, oh my God, Becky's everywhere. Well, no, I'm at the seafood shanty and I've got a sign on Main Street. I'm not everywhere, but I appreciate that you think that. And I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, right? But I'm now in their DNA. And they're feeling like I'm everywhere. So if I'm showing up on their social, they're getting physical collateral in their mailbox. They're getting the email, and I think the phone call, right? Because we all fall back on that nerve sword that, you know what, Timmy, I don't want to make the phone call because I'm better off face to face. I appreciate that. Face to face, we know the metrics. 7% is the words I choose, right? 43% is the tonality in which I use those words, right? The passion they can hear in my voice. The other 50% is body language. The benefit we have now is I can move from a phone call to not even face to face, but Zoom to Zoom, right? Which is the same thing. You guys can see me right now. I apologize. You can hear me, and you can hear the words I'm choosing in the way in which I'm saying them, right? So you're unfortunately getting 99% of me right now. If we're on the phone, all you're getting is the words I'm choosing, and you're also getting the tonality in which I'm using them. So I think the phone call outside of face to face is our next best thing. The written word, we all joke about that. You can get the text from your wife or your partner that says, "Hey," and you're like, "Is she mad at me?" She was actually saying, "Hey," right? You know what I mean? You know, it's like so different. Like if you're on a dating app, "Hey" with like 3 dots means, you know, come over and watch Netflix. Hey in all caps is like somebody's flipping you off in traffic. It's just received differently, right? But if I'm reading that, I have no control over how I'm understanding that, as opposed to if you're hearing me say, I'm really excited to get a hold of you. I'm so sorry it's been so long. And that first phone call, that heavy lift of the 7-year, 15-year phone call, it's all go back to Latin class, mea culpa, my fault. You know, Mary, I'm so sorry it's been so long. You know, and my New Year's Eve script is, you know, the ball dropped on New Year's Eve. I gave Janina a kiss. And I told her my resolution for 2021 was to get in touch with everybody I haven't talked to in forever. So here I am. How are you? How's the family? How's Hewlett Packard? Right? And most people with warm blood in their veins are going to reciprocate and say, how are Janina? How are the boys? How's Keller Williams? Or if it's been 7 years, they're going to ask me about where I was before, some other job I might have been doing, some other thing they knew me from, right? And I can bring them up to speed. I'm glad you asked. I'm with Keller Williams. Really? Real estate? What's that like? They're going to start asking questions. And now we're in, right? And all the phone calls don't go that way. They're never going to go that way if you don't pick up the phone.
Tim,
Go ahead.
in the interest of time, it's
Yes, ma'am.
12:06.
Yeah,
I'm
there it is.
rushing us along.
Yep.
So we have 2 hands up, Becky and Deborah. I'm not sure whose hand was up first because I took a phone call. So,
Yep.
but we want to
Go
get
ahead,
you
guys.
guys on the phone too. So, who should?
I have a
Beck.
quick question.
Go ahead, Beck.
So actually, Tim, it's very funny because that was almost the same script that I was using when I was calling people about, you know, this is my New Year's resolution is to, you know,
Perfect.
reach out to more people since we can't be
Perfect.
face to face. I figured I'm going to call you, but I can't get off the phone. How do you get off the phone? Like I get what I want out of the conversation. I get talking to people. I let them know I'm working with Keller Williams. Can I help you? Can I help anyone you know? But I can't get off the phone. It's like an hour and a half of my day. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, great, I've made 1 phone call.
So
Yeah,
Beck,
so
you
I
know this
suffer
this
from
class
that
ends at 12 o'clock
disease.
and I talk till 12:06. So that's half of our problem. Go ahead.
Okay, so you have to have a plan. So that's a really, for anyone who likes to use all the words, that's a real thing, right? So you have to have a plan for how long the call is going to be and kind of keep an eye on the time. And then the other, the really easy way to end that call is, you know what, Becky, I'm enjoying chatting with you so much. And we have so much to catch up on. Can we set up another time for a call or maybe meet for coffee? Because this is like a longer conversation. This is a bottle of wine. This is a cup of coffee, whatever it is. Right. So, and try to set up, you know, another opportunity to talk to them and that you have more time. Right. Like I want to give you this time. I don't want to rush you. I want to hear all the cool stuff you've been up to and how your real estate business is going. Can we set up another time? I have a big chunk of time next week or and you could even go in for an appointment, right? Like set up some time to go and sit with them. And then you can be more leisurely. So have a plan and literally have a little script in front of you of how you're going to end the call with grace and kindness. And hey, let's get back together on this because there's obviously a lot that we've missed in the last 15 years since we last spoke, right?
Can I make a quick suggestion? You can start the conversation with, hey, I'm running into an appointment. I have an appointment in 15, 20 minutes, but this made me think of you. And then when that time comes, you're like, you know, I'd love to talk more. I'm running late. And then, but just start it with, I don't have time.
Well, yeah, you could say, I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I just wanted to touch base. And if the conversation's going well, or, you know what, right? Like you can end it with, let's set up another time where we can talk a little bit longer. And certainly if you're talking to people you haven't spoken to in a while and you've had a lot of changes in your life, there's going to be a ton to talk about. So I certainly myself have used that script of, Becky, I really want to talk. I'm so excited to hear about all these things. Let's set up a longer chunk of time to spend some time together. So that would be, yeah.
Deborah
Yeah.
Kenny.
Yeah, I have a technical question, so let me know if this isn't the right forum.
Okay.
I set up myself on the smart plan, and when I get the email, it says, you know, call your realtor blank, signed by your realtor blank. How do I fix that?
So you have to go into you have to customize that. So all of our tools you can customize with your own colors, your logo, your headshot. So you have to go in and set that. It's part of your, I think it's called your marketing profile within Command. So you want to go in and put your contact information, your web page, your Facebook, whatever you're going to put in there. And then that should, you should be able to add that into the smart plan. So it's a good thing you sent that to yourself so you could see what it looked like.
Yeah, I'm glad we talked about that. Yeah, so Deb, when you go into Command, hover over the icon up in the corner where you are with your name, and on the drop down you'll see marketing profile, like Erin said.
Perfect.
And
Thank
you just get some blanks in there. And if you want to, you can throw in my name. It's fine.
It'll be settings.
Settings. Thanks, Ken.
Settings, and then go to the left column where it says connect settings.
Connect settings. Yes. It's like I can see it in my mind, but I don't know what it's called, right? Like, but once you really only have to set it up once. You know, put all your stuff in there. You'll have to add your, you know, whatever your contact information. It'll save it in there, and then you can apply it.
Awesome.
So you can also contact them. Sorry, you can also contact them, and they can set it all up for you. I was having an issue with I had put an initial headshot, and then for whatever reason, it wouldn't allow me to change it. So I gave them a quick call, and they set it up for me, but they had set it up originally as well. It was so easy, no issues. So.
Okay. All right. So we have some questions in the chat. Is there class Monday with the holiday? No, we are not open on Monday. So no class.
Celebrating
so we're going to see,
MLK.
yeah, we're going to see you Tuesday.
So next week we run Tuesday through Friday with classes. The last week of the month, we're going to run Monday through Thursday. We'll finish Ignite. And then on that Friday, which would be an open date for us, we're going to sort of do a little bit of a catch-all class and bring some talent into the room to help us dot some I's and cross some T's.
Yep. And
Anybody else?
Yeah, and we'll be getting that do not call unit onto the Facebook group sometime, hopefully today. It's on my schedule. So we'll get some information in there so you guys can take a look at that.
Awesome.
All right.
Any other questions? We have stuff in the chat. Anybody else have something we can help out with before you head out for your weekend? Yeah, Donna.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
I talk too much. I realize that. I apologize.
Really? Wow. Somebody said that to me. That's impressive. Go ahead though. Yeah. Okay.
I know, really. You and I could have a contest actually, Tim.
No.
So my comment is, one of the things I found successful with this communication, calling, whatever, is if it's somebody, let's say it's a vendor, I start out with an email and tell them what I'm trying to set the stage for. And then I say, I will give you a call on Monday. Is that something that you would recommend? I've had success with it.
If it's working for you, I would stick with the process that's working for you. I did when I was building my Allied Resources, I was just calling them.
Okay.
I was just calling them, right? And just having the conversation. If it's a florist, I'm calling to find out if they want to be one of my Allied Resources that'll be connected to my monthly postcard that I can highlight in February for Valentine's Day, you know, or whatever the case may be. There's no wrong order. I just think we keep kicking the can down the road on the phone call, and I want you guys to get engaged with them verbally sooner than later, because that's really going to bake you into their heads, you know?
Now I get it. This was an old boss of mine, so I thought it was the right way to go.
Sure. No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know, the level of professionalism and what your relationship was prior to this if you can lean back into that to keep that comfort level there, but then to follow, yeah, because now you set the table. And I would, and yeah, I'll give you, I'll be calling you next week. Looking forward to talking to you, Ted. Right. And then when the phone rings and you're coming in on the call, you set the table for that. That works.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Question about the CMAs and the newsletters. Are we gonna have a class on that talks more about that? Because I'm kind of like, I've never sent out a newsletter or CMA.
So the CMA, no, because that's going to be really
Multi-state.
specific to your MLS and your software, like, and this is a regional class. So you likely should have something in your market center. You can reach out to find out if they're teaching a class on CMAs, if there's someone who will, or your own MLS that has a class on the CMAs.
Okay.
And then what was the other question?
About the newsletter, like how to set it up or.
So I don't know that we have a session in Ignite that's directly around newsletters.
Marketing though. We could.
Yeah, marketing.
yeah,
Our
we'll
next
drill down a
class
little bit
is
more.
marketing. So we're going to talk a little bit more about, and that would be in there.
Yep.
Next, so that would be Tuesday.
Yeah, and Karen, don't get too concerned about the content. We want there to be value delivered. We want consistent value delivered.
Okay.
Right? It could literally be, like Donna made the point of, I don't have any inventory to brag about yet. Cool. Well, then just lean back into your market center and brag about what your market center has sold or what your market center currently has listed. You can always steal that story because that's your conversation to share. You're just going to talk to your TL or your coach in your market center to get the parameters around which you're able to share those properties. If I'm a brand new agent getting started, I'm going to go to Aaron and be like, just got here. Do you mind if I use your listing on Main Street to go on my social media to look for buyers? What is Aaron going to say? Yes, she's probably going to walk me through the conversation. So I'm doing it appropriately within her standard for her brand. And what does she want me to do? She wants me to show up with a buyer, right? So.
Yep.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, it's 12:16.
Thank you, everybody.
That time. All right, guys, we
Yeah.
appreciate your time.
Go
We will
set
see
some
you.
appointments.
We'll see you on Tuesday at 9 o'clock. Have a great
Wonderful.
weekend.
Thank
See
you,
guys.
Tim and Aaron.
Bye.
Excellent.
Thank
you,
you,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Thank you.
Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
Bye.